solve a mystery or get prepped for a fight. Your favorite handful of die-hard dice tonight. Against those high DCs, a 20 would be nice. Please no one's die-hard dice. Need a crit, you gotta roll with die-hard dice. Let's get dangerous. Die-hard dice. Die-hard dice. Rolling scrolls and misshaped spheres, it's so hard to decide. So many colors and designs the Die Hard can provide. Which ones should I procure? So give me some advice. You need some Die Hard dice. Oh well, we suggest you roll with the best. Die Hard dice. Let's get dangerous. Die Hard dice. Don't be dash jail for these bad boys. Die Hard dice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shenanigoons, that crazy industrial fantasy campaign that I don't have my notes of.
Where you contribute to the chaos, but not tonight.
But not tonight. I mean, you can. We can still inflict pain upon people. But I didn't get the wheel set up, so we're not doing that tonight.
I, for one, will be defying gravity.
Uh-huh.
Welcome to Shenanigoons, you're awesome, you subscribed. You tuned into the Shenanigoons, and no one here was bribed.
No
Mayhem, magic, mystery is usually the vibe. The vibe. Strap in for Shenanigoons, you're awesome, you subscribed.
Thank you, and Matthew for that subscription for 16 months. Jesus. And thank you, Curious Grass, for the raid. Welcome, Banana Brothers. And Banana Brothers Watchers.
Welcome.
So hard to say goodbye. Sorry.
I just have to say, I love Tentacle Mimsy.
What are you pointing at, Kyle?
I love Tentacle Mimsy.
Yes.
I love
Tentacle
Tentacle
Mimsy.
Mimsy. It's great.
Mimsy's
I do love Tentacle
evolved form.
It's the Alola version.
So welcome,
As long as he doesn't go all the way to Akira.
Yeah, no, we don't need any Akira monsters. Thank you. So welcome everyone to what is the absolute final episode of season 1 of Shenanigoons. This is our epilogue episode, and
But why is there gold in my bra still?
Because Mike put it
Because the
there.
magic of the internet.
Because Mike desperately is a completionist, and desperately wants to finish our little bar that's up there above.
Somebody's trolling me. It's not going to ever close, is it?
What's going on? Oh, the bar? No, I've turned it off, so it's not ever going to change.
No, it's just always right.
Well, I figured that need for completion might
well.
drive a few extra donations here at the end. No, I didn't turn it off. It should absolutely finish and fill up here. I have no idea what that number's at. I really don't know what that is.
I do.
I don't know.
I know what that number is at
But
because I have tracked it.
That sounds like a good final statistic.
Final
to share
statistic
with
at
the
the
audience.
end. We're also going to be sharing some stuff about season 2 of Shenanigoons towards the end of this, the end of our show tonight. So stay tuned for that. I'm being rude. Did I miss me being rude? Or I probably
Always.
did.
Because it's not going to close.
Yeah. So not Shenanitunes, but I kind of like that.
If we use face rig.
I will say,
Shenanitunes.
if we'll put it this way, if we get a donation of 500 bits, this chat, the final number of our party loot will be amazing, and that's all I'm gonna say. And very appropriate.
Will it be
very
nice?
appropriate.
Will
It will be a
nice number?
3-digit, very nice number.
Oh,
nice.
perfect.
I think that decides what our new bot name should be. I still. Anyway.
Shenanigans, yes. Shenanigans.
Please.
Oh, we should just have our patrons vote on our next bot name.
That's very true.
That's a great
That should
idea.
be a
So,
frequent-
Bot Quite Human is getting a makeover right now, over into next season. So for the entire network, not just for this station, for this channel, but we're just hinging everything on this particular show because this is the show we're all on, and that's the show we do everything with. So a lot of things happen on the turn of Shenanigoons. Whoa,
Everything's fine.
nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
So what I'd like to start with is I would like, since we have so many new people that have been starting to follow us and come and meet us, I would like to start with a reintroduction of our players and characters. Who wants to go first?
Sure.
Angela, this was your idea. You go first.
It's the reverse of chicken. It was just not it. All right. So, hi. My name is Angela, and I played. I play Adelaide Chaucer. Adelaide is a human fighter / wizard. She was an archer, an arcane archer specifically. And we all decided that we were going to talk a little bit about who our characters were and who they are now. So, spoilers. If you're watching this, this is the last episode, so tough if you're going to
Spoilers everywhere.
So,
Many spoilers.
Adelaide Chaucer was born Adelaide Birchfield. She was a member of a, she's one of 4 children of a very wealthy, very notable family in the city of Ashport. She spent a lot of her childhood as a very bookish, sort of private person. She didn't really connect very much with her family. And then one of her sole sort of confidants was a member of the household staff, the major domo of the family, Lawrence, who is a drow. And she got into a lot of disagreements with her family about her future plans when she found out about the Proctors, the sanctioned adventurers of the Birchfield Institute, of which her family's name is plastered on. She really wanted to do that, and she wanted to be an adventurer, and she was told flat out no. And so after tensions boiled over, she got the fuck out of Dodge. She left her home and built up the confidence to try out for the Proctors. She changed her last name. Didn't do much else to hide. She chopped all her hair off, changed her last name, and auditioned for the Proctors. She did not make it in. Behind the scenes stuff, she didn't make it in because the last slot in her class was taken by a very promising young tabaxi wizard named Avi, and he proceeded to be a proctor, and she didn't. She was offered the opportunity from Robin, another member of the Birchfield Institute, to perhaps find a way to strike a balance between her what grade she needed to pass and what grade she got during her auditions, to be a fetcher, a sort of bounty hunter for hire for the Birchfield, doing sort of the more grungy jobs that the Proctors didn't want to do. Considering what we ended up doing later in our game, it's what the fetchers do, I can't imagine. So she has spent her entire life wanting to be a proctor, wanting to achieve some sort of ideal of what it means to be a member of the Birchfield Institute. She had a very idealized image of what its values were and what it stood for, which very frequently came into conflict during the show, as she was dealing with the fact that the things her father, as the head of the Birchfield Institute, the things he was doing seemed sort of counter to what she wanted the Birchfield to be in her mind. Over the course of the show, she leaned a little bit more into wizardly pursuits. She's a bookish person. She She tapped into a level of arcane knowledge that she hadn't really done before, and I guess we'll talk later about whether or not she continues in those pursuits. But that was certainly something that she found herself very passionate about as the show went on. What are some of the other things we want to talk about? By the end, she had quite a bit of, not really catharsis, but some level of closure with her father, who, over the course of the show, I guess came to see his daughter's perspective, and eventually turned himself in for being an accomplice to a conspiracy in the Birchfield. And the last we saw of him was being carted off into custody. So that's where she is right now. She's uncertain of her future with the Birchfield Institute. She is grateful for her party members, who are very much some of the closest people she has right now. And I think the biggest thing that she learned over the course of the campaign was, one, not trying to plan everything, and learning how to rely on other people. She spent a very long amount of her time relying on herself because she had to, and then just because she preferred it. And now she's, I think, a little more understanding of what a team actually feels like. So I think she did change quite a bit from beginning to end in the campaign. The end.
Cool.
Tag.
Arthur?
I'm going to go out of...
That's very uncharacteristic of you.
It's uncharacteristic, yes. Just so that I'm not last.
I don't have any clean instinct.
Hello, my name is Mike Janelle. I played Arthur. He was a 19-year-old human warlock, so if he seemed childish at times, that's probably why. Pre-campaign, Arthur was raised by his loving and caring parents, Harriet and Gunther. Both were well-established archaeologists in their own right. Homeschooled, I would accompany them on digs and travel around often to see the various sites they would be sent to. I'd often be left to my own devices, venturing around on my own, becoming very independent in the process. Both my parents loved to cook, and my love for food and the various cultural dishes from the travel stem from this. A downside of the travel and homeschooling was that I didn't have very many friends, and if I did, they weren't my age. I worried that if I never ventured out on my own, I would always be in their shadow. So, yeah, both my parents are still alive and proud of who I've become. Considered, I guess, hardcore. Yeah. So by the end of the campaign, I did succeed at making friends my own age, more or less. I don't know everybody's exact age. And then one older, of course.
Very good friend.
Uh-huh.
And I was part of new adventures, and these were all obviously away from my parents, and I was happy for this. But in doing so, I realized that his dreams were to continue to travel and discover, to continue to make new friends, and continue to experience new cuisines. He hopes others won't feel abandoned when he leaves to venture on. That is a kind of a worry of his, but he will always take parts of those that he meets from this group and in the future with him on his journeys, the memories and lessons, both the good times and the bad. Well, he will try to keep in touch with as many of his close friends as he can. He'll do so while living the life that he has chosen, not one that was chosen for him. No fear. So pretty much basically overall, no regrets. Yeah. Overall, I feel Arthur was a take it like you see it kind of guy. I didn't see him as fleeting or just passing through life, but more trying to enjoy the little things. kind of easy-go-lucky, living in the present, taking each day as it comes. No worries of the past or future. Not exactly sure how this will end for him in the years to come, but Arthur would probably say that's for the future me to decide. So that's about him in a nutshell.
Aw.
Tag.
Who's it?
I can go.
for it.
Also, chat is making us all like crack up.
That's what it's there for.
Okay, so Val is one of the three of us who was raised with, well, four of us, I guess, who was raised without a solid father around.
Team
You
Daddy
mean he was
issues.
Ghost?
Yeah.
Ghost Dad.
Although in Val's case, I should start off with who I am. I'm Heather Janelle. I played Val, Valeria Clark. She was a half-orc, grave domain cleric, and her father was the orc, her mother was human. Nothing negative. They met, had a fun night, and then Val was the unexpected result.
Shenanigoons. We love that you've subscribed. You tuned into Shenanigoons, and no one here was bribed. I tell ya, mayhem, magic, mystery is usually the vibe. Strap in for Shenanigoons. You're awesome. You've subscribed.
Thank you for taking a break from editing.
Oh,
Damn it.
it's one of my
Not the long
favorite
one.
games. Is this the
which is it?
extended version?
Yep.
I
The
know.
director's cut. That's there to go. This is the
Oh,
director's
there
cut.
you go.
Because, yeah.
Well, I wasn't sure if
Very
it was
good.
Kim or Chad. Now I know.
It's his Chad.
Yeah, it's Chad. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah. So half orc raised by her mother, who is also a knight of the Order of Joy and Sorrow, which are followers of Wayuna, which is basic. To summarize for people who aren't familiar with our world, it's kind of our version of the Raven Queen, a goddess
Yeah.
of death.
For me, it's the Raven Queen mixed with the First Slayer.
Yeah, just to make things simplified.
Buffy?
Yeah, from Buffy. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
from Buffy. The First Slayer from Buffy.
Yeah, the
The
very,
first.
very first one.
The series, not the
Quote,
movie.
unquote,
I
the
hope.
name, the first.
The
The,
series,
fir-
yeah.
the,
sure.
first, the movie didn't talk about the First Slayer.
No, it's the movie, the series, not the movie.
Anyway.
Okay, yeah, sidetrack. So Val was raised by her mother, who is a paladin of Wayuna and part of the Order, and her stepfather, who was always around but came in as a stepfather later in life, was also a paladin of the Order. So very much ingrained in her from a young age. She always believed in Wayuna. That was never an issue. But a portion of her was going along with it just because her parents were always involved in it and she looked up to her parents. During one of the many campaigns they were fighting, she met Adelaide, who was helping them with something. And so they got to know each other and fought together during all of that. She also joined the Order very young because half-orcs mature quickly, so she was in the Order and fighting at 14. When the campaign started, Val was 16. We never did birthdays or anything, but I would guess she's probably close to 17, if not all the way into 17 at this point. Despite that, she was very much the mom of the group. Let's
New
see.
game. How easily can we break Heather's train of thought through silly chat discussion?
Really easily, because I read quickly.
Don't read
I'm trying not to. Okay, hold on. Let me just expand the Zoom window so I can't see chat, and then it's solved. Okay.
I
There we go.
heard, so I can't see Chad.
it. Yeah.
That's what I
I mean-
heard.
I said chat. I
Nope,
said
I
chat.
heard Chad.
Okay.
Poor Chad. We
no.
love
I
Chad.
said
Throw him
chat,
right under
not
that bus.
Chad. I like
We love
chat.
our Chad.
Okay, so she
Angels reference?
No, it was not Charlie's Rage. I would have said it might have been the Chad if I was going for a Charlie's Angel response.
okay, so Val joined the Order and eventually got stationed in Ashport, where she ran into Adelaide again. And through Adelaide, started working with everyone else in the party towards being a proctor. And through the course of those events and everything that unfolded throughout the story, came to realize that she likes being a proctor more than she liked being part of the order. She still worships Wayuna. She's still a cleric of her and believes in her cause, but realized that in terms of actual day-to-day life, she enjoyed being a proctor a lot more than she enjoyed being one of the Knights of Joy and Sorrow. So she continued on with everybody. There were no big secrets in her past. There were a couple of near romances that didn't land.
She had more dates than anybody
I
else in
tried,
this
guys. I tried.
Yeah.
We'll
Yes.
talk about that later.
You've tried to
Oh.
romance Heather in several games. It does not work well for you.
Well, when you
Cats are fickle.
when you lead
Yeah.
with Squash,
Yeah.
it's hard to get her invested again.
That every single one from here.
That
on
one
to
was
Infinity
partly
is
my
squash.
fault. Okay. And yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. Did I miss any of the questions that we were
No, I
answering?
think you're good.
Okay. Then tag.
Kyle.
Sorry, I was typing in chat. So hi, I'm Kyle. I played Merrick Strider, the halfling thief rogue. Yeah, so I just wrote verbatim the questions that Ange wrote. So
There's no wrong way to do this.
before the campaign started, Merrick was adopted by Liara Strider, a matron of the Lotus Pad crime family of the city of Ashport. From a young age, he was trained to be a consummate thief and spy. On the night he was formally inducted as a member of the Lotus Pads, he was kidnapped by an unknown group of assailants who claimed to be from the notorious Spiders, a mysterious crime family renowned for its high-profile actions within the city. He carried the spiderweb scars from that night long into his days as an adventurer.
Bum, bum, bum.
His life's mission became to never divulge his true intentions, keep people guessing, stay loyal to the family, and always look out for number one. A method of doing this was to adopt
mom.
an accent as character affectation. By the end of the campaign, he grew to know that selfish behavior at the expense of other people was no way to live, and that this life is much richer when shared with those you love. The team's mission to the Underdark solidified in his mind that they were people he wanted to keep close. Everyone showed that they were talented, not only for their own benefit, but for the benefit of the group and the mission as a whole. He grew to appreciate their motivations, desires, and camaraderie. In particular, he grew to respect, know, and care for, and love one of the other party members. By the end of the campaign, he never anticipated finding it, given his life of terrible and sometime inept crime. That's what I have.
Awesome. Good job.
Thank you.
Sorry you have to follow
Sorry.
that, buddy.
That's okay. Sorry, that brought up a question that I had to add to our question log for Kyle because I had to think about something. Okay, so hi, I am Tessa. I played Bonnie, half-elf, College of Sword bard, and swashbuckler rogue. So Bonnie started adventuring because she wanted to find her dad. She grew up on a very small island known as Ashnar's Tooth, where the only thing people ever talk about is fishing, fish, and boats. And getting hitched.
To the boats.
And no, not
Yeah,
to the boats.
that's what I- that's
We
what
yeah,
were
to
talking
the
about
boats.
boat hitching, yeah.
Yeah.
Keel hauling.
really.
Possibly mooring.
So she had a very, very romanticized view of the pirate life from stories of her
Mooring
mom.
is boring, but hitching is bitching.
Nice. So the catalyst for her leaving was her longtime boyfriend popped the question and said, "Marry me," and she said, "No,"
Marry me, Rebecca.
Oh, sweetie.
and left because she had told him that she wanted to leave the island and adventure, and he had thought, well, if I ask her to marry me, maybe she'll stay, and that was definitely not in the cards. So she took off for Ashport to try and find her dad, met this crazy crew of knuckleheads, and somewhere along the way learned, that you don't have to figure out who you are because of who your name is. you can figure out who you are on your own merit, and ended up engaged and happy rather than freshly broken up and very confused about life.
And you can do that on your own merit.
And you can do that on your own merit. I was trying not to make that joke, so I'm glad you did.
And that's the kind of quality highbrow entertainment you can expect from Shenanigoons going forward.
Are you done?
Yes. Yeah.
So you're supposed to say, there you go. So I guess that's to me. I am Logan Bryce. I am the DM here, and I played literally every other character that wasn't here, including all the ones that you...
All the boyfriends, all the moms,
all the unicorns,
all the dads.
all the ghosts,
The mop.
the drow,
The mop.
the mop,
One time.
Yeah.
the sentient mop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
All the
so
Avengers.
I'm going to talk a lot during the AMA, so
All
I'm
the
going to stop
Avengers,
talking
yes.
now. And we're going to go ahead and move into the epilogue. This is us moving past the campaign. I think we got a pretty good summary of the campaign during all of that. Thank you very much for the follow. Ange, do you think we got a good enough summary? Or do we need a little bit more?
I think the only thing that might be warranted to say is our last adventure had to do with stopping Bonnie's long lost dad from rewriting reality because he wished to save his first daughter from her undead fate, and so we seem to have tapped into something greater than ourselves in the effort of destroying this reality manipulator. And so we returned to Ashport with a slightly more expanded view of the world and reality itself? Question mark.
Yeah.
It seemed like a big deal. At the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Perfect. That was great.
And
so
also
yeah,
hamsters.
and hamsters, giant space hamsters.
Mm-hmm.
So that, that was a quick summary. Just as a little perspective from Logan here, when we started the campaign, it was a podcast. It was very different than what it ended up being. Somewhere around 6 months ago, it turned into an extreme comedy stream, and we just kind of did goose
We just lost our
for
minds.
2 or 3 arcs
Uh-huh.
until I was able to kind of pull it back into a little bit more serious. And the goal with the next season, not that I'll talk any more about this, but is to kind of find a middle ground there. Well, thank you, Make Believe.
Thank you, Ren.
Ren Apollo,
Hi, Ren.
who has just rated us, is going to be joining us for our next campaign season.
I'm so excited.
Series, and so I'm hoping that they are keenly aware of what they're getting into, but I know that they are not. So I'm very excited about that because otherwise they wouldn't have agreed to do it.
So you were saying what you hope in general terms, because we'll get back to season 2.
In general
later.
terms, talking about season 2, I'm hoping to find some middle ground between the extreme comedy and the extreme seriousness. And in the end, if you balance everything out, I think we did a good job this time. So I'm very happy with this campaign so far, and I would like to get into our epilogues, which always starts with me asking the players some series of questions that they then have to answer, some of which will hurt them. But we're going to start a little bit easier this time, as I am still working on some of the questions.
And then get into the hurtful.
Yeah, we'll get into the hurtful stuff
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
I kind of just want to know in the short term, right after the campaign has ended, in the first 2 or 3 years after that, what were you doing? What were your characters kind of focusing on? And this doesn't need to be long, drawn out answers. I don't want a lot of detail. I just want to kind of know the basics of what you were doing after you had basically, well, not really saved the world necessarily, but saved the timeline. The world probably wouldn't have been affected that much, but you did save the existing timeline, probably saved Bonnie's life, and definitely saved quite a few other people's, whoever the Admiral had been involved with. So who would like to go first? Kyle, so what were you up to for the first few years?
I think Merrick was trying to figure out.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think Merrick was trying to figure out how his mother stayed sane.
I was going to
While
say
running-
that you have a very big job now. You are the head of household until Bonnie is ready to take over, and you are running the guilds, the Lotus Blossoms,
Pats.
Lotus Pads. Sorry,
The Lotus
Sorry.
Blossoms are like the little
Yeah, they're
Girl
the-
Scouts that are they're like being taught a la Artful Dodger style
Yeah.
how to do stuff.
They mix all our poisons.
Take,
Jesus.
Jesus.
You ever see that marshmallow challenge?
Delivered-
How do you think that's gonna go, Kyle?
Delivered a la Girl Scout
Holy
cookies.
crap.
The
Hey,
small
let's
These
hand.
are
go
our
Chubby
thing, have
Bunny.
poison.
No.
Chocolate poison.
Jesus. All right. Well, that was the horrible. We're done with Kyle now. Okay, moving on.
It's the rice and mints.
No. So you were taking the time to learn how to run the guild. So what was that like?
Probably very stressful for Merrick. He's not used to having to manage so many things at the same time. He had a hard enough time keeping his accent straight. So yeah, managing a business really, and a family, probably kind of took him by surprise. But I imagine that, as with all things, he just kind of started making it up and just pretending that he knew the right answer. You know, about a year and a half into it.
All right.
And all of a sudden you realize that's all your mom's been doing. This
So,
whole time.
so Bonnie and Merrick, the two of you, how long do you think it was before Bonnie decides that she's ready to take over, and how does that come up?
Honestly, I think in my mind, it would depend on whether or not they wanted kids right away and how long, because I don't think she would feel ready to take over anything and like be actively, pregnant at the same time. So probably.
What a power move, though.
Yeah, but also
I am
potentially
so
dangerous.
not
so.
concerned about all the other Thieves Guild that I'm going to take over this position while pregnant.
Yeah, no, I don't know that.
Who's
All right,
gonna
so
want to
did-
fuck with a pregnant lady?
so did
That's
you-
all I'm
That's
saying.
true.
Did you guys decide that you wanted to have kids?
That's a good question. Do we?
Probably not within the first 2 or 3 years, because
Yeah.
Merrick had a hard enough time lowering down his barriers to begin with, to the point that they probably weren't intimate until after they were married, just because he was very uncomfortable the entire time leading up to that point. So it probably took him a long time to no, this is okay, to be able to do that.
You might. I don't want to. You had described Merrick as being Demi, so I mean, Bonnie was very, whenever you're ready, was totally okay with the fact that
You guys also didn't
up
have
until
a
they got
lot
married,
of
the
time.
most they ever really did was hold hands.
You guys also didn't have a lot of time. You guys were running around and dealing with a bunch of crazy crap a lot. I know you guys had some downtime,
Three other
but
people around almost all
constantly.
We're sharing rooms, and
So
it's
Kyle, we're coming. Ooh, don't hit the microphone with your pencil. Kyle, we're going to come to your first kind of question that I've come up with. I want to know how this affects you, how it affects Merrick, and how it affects how you might have handled it, or if you just kind of let it go. But 1 year to the day after your mother left, in town there was a kind of an uproar about this new product that had been released, and you very quickly find out it was released by a rival, somebody from one of the other Thieves Guilds in town, trying to make a statement. It is a cookbook, and they're all your mother's recipes, including tomato gravy. Ooh.
The streets will run red
With tomato
with
gravy.
something. With something.
Bonnie's got the sword out. Who we killing?
I think that Merrick would buy as many of them as he could.
Okay.
And annotate all of them.
All right.
Have the Lotus Blossoms practice their thieves' cant writing by inscribing in all of the papers notes as far as nope, wrong, nope, it's a teaspoon, not a half teaspoon. It's, you know, like, and just basically annotating everything in his mother's handwriting.
Okay.
Nice.
And then distributing them back out on the town. Just
All right.
like gets them out. And of course he's not going to give the real.
Incorrectly? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
All right. All right. I like that.
You gotta put more salt in this, like way more salt. Like way. You think it's gonna be too much salt, but you just gotta keep going.
So you've heard that pasta water is supposed to taste like the ocean. No, you should taste like every viewer of this show after this episode is done.
Nice.
That's pretty salty.
Would you like some water with your salt?
All right. Excellent. I think that was good for now. Bonnie, besides obviously dealing with Kyle or with the barracks life, what has Bonnie been doing for the first 2 or 3 years after?
For the first 2 years after, she's, you know, helping out Merrick as much as possible, so she didn't grow up in the family. She's, you know, learning as much as she can from him, but is also really fascinated by this, what she's learned, and kind of throws herself into research of this potential way of getting around that they've learned about. So I think she probably spends maybe a couple of months on Jasper's ship before she realizes, no, she's really done. She really wants to just kind of be home and focus on journeying elsewhere.
Okay. I like that. I don't have anything for you right now.
That's okay.
Arthur, Val, either of you ready?
Anytime.
Go ahead,
Sure,
Val.
anytime.
Okay. So who do you want to go first, or do you care?
Val.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. So Val is going to continue with the proctors. What she wants to start working on is trying to create some sort of liaison situation between the Knights of Joy and Sorrow and the proctors, because in some ways their goals are not too dissimilar in terms of wanting to keep things the way they're supposed to be, but also proctors die all the fucking time, and if they had a cleric or a paladin, maybe they would die a little less.
Maybe.
So I think she spends a lot of time doing that and trying to work with Helmsfar and whoever else is there. Whether any of the others are still participating with the proctors, that would be something she'd be looking at doing.
Okay. I like that. Arthur?
Well, some of his was obviously discussed at the last season, so depending on what you say later, I mean, I don't know how long I would have stayed with the space hamsters.
What a fucking sentence.
Do you have any input on that, or?
No, but more about, like, so you continue world hopping, or
Yeah.
maybe you find a place you want to stay in a while. That's fine too. I'm not concerned more about that. How, you know, is there anything in particular that you are doing while you're doing these things? Are you like expanding your food, your palate with your food, and are you looking for?
Yeah, we're
you know,
trying all the different the cuisines, learning new recipes, and Liara is writing and creating a new cookbook of her own.
Of course.
Speaking of cookbooks, so yeah, and I rolled just to see, and it was 58. So I wanted to see how many portals
Already
were
made a note,
opened
Logan.
until we returned back to the one we left from, out of random chance. So it was 58.
Wow. So 58 jumps before you come home.
Yeah. So however long that is.
Well,
And
like
some of them would be, not long. Some would be longer. We'd actually, I would want to explore and meet the culture and do that, what you'd expect an archaeologist to do.
It's like 2 seasons of Quantum Leap.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends. Who's left?
Angela.
Natalie.
So, am I getting a question first, or am I saying what happens in the next?
Just
few
what do you do
years?
for the next couple of years?
So I sort of had this thought a little while ago. Adelaide would stay with the Proctors, but she would talk to Helmsfar about getting a demotion.
Okay.
She wants to earn her way back up. She doesn't want her father to have had a hand in it. So she's going to do what she can to kind of assess where her father started influencing her.
It was only to the gold badge.
trajectory.
So
Okay,
Helmsfar
well, that
has
makes
no
you feel a little better.
Helmsfar completely your father had, you find out that your father had no clue you were there until you guys started to get involved with the
That's so typical.
Fucking hell.
Once you started to get involved with the murder, that is when he kind of became aware of that. So yeah. So he Helmsfar completely respects that, absolutely, and will demote you. And all of you actually the rest of you just kind of get notified that you've been demoted. And
Like any of you show up for work anymore.
Do the rest of you have to
Val
turn your
does.
pins in?
Okay, Val does, sure.
and then they absolutely, but then Helmsfar definitely would be seeking to connect more with you. You get the idea that while he plays a little bit close to the chest, he's definitely sort of kind of grooming you for something bigger. And if you ever confront him about it, because you're worried that maybe your name is, part of that. By the way, do you change it back to Birchfield, or do you keep going with Chaucer?
That's a really good question. I hadn't thought about it. I think she racks her brain about it for a while.
Okay.
I'll
So
think
you
about
stick
it.
with
I'll
Chaucer
let you
for a
know.
while, though, right? I mean,
Yeah, while
because that's what all the
she's- yeah.
paperwork is already. I mean, you don't want to do the paperwork. There's a lot.
She was sort of the mind of, I mean, given her family, there was always, and given what happened with her dad, it wasn't like it was outside of her thought process that a higher position might get put in the cards. She kind of always thought that a Birchfield should be that sort of leading focus of the institute. So if she ever was in a position to take over more, she might change it. But while she's still a proctor, she doesn't want that distraction.
Got it. But he'll be very direct and blunt with you if you ever do confront him about the idea that it might just be because you're a Birchfield. And he will say that, he has, if he was only going on your reputation as a Birchfield, he wouldn't pay any attention to you at all. And it's only because of the dedication that you've had during the, specifically your persistence of finding the truth over just taking the company line during the investigation would be the big factor in why he wants to kind of get you at least in that direction. And you kind of have your choice of assignments, and I assume you're taking some of the harder ones because that sounds like Adelaide.
Sure. Anything remotely involved in researching those items as well.
Yeah,
she's
and
really so far.
you can go into research. You can go in. You don't have to stick with fetching and all of that. So, which actually cuts a lot farther back in the more modern. In the new, Birchfield, they are not treasure hunting as much. They're doing a lot more research and trying to understand. The idea being that you're not sure how much of the previous idea of getting these powerful items was just because the Birchfield decided they need to control it versus actually just removing them from the world.
Adelaide would spend quite a bit of time using the schmoozing she's been taught how to do to stay close to the directors, in the sense of she's not trying to be presumptuous about whether or not she has a say in anything, but she wants to know what's going on and the direction that the Institute is taking, and she wants to take a vested interest in that sort of thing, knowing that there's possibly some sort of trust situation. So she wants to make sure that she knows what's going on and what they're intending to do, because she has her own ideas of what the Institute should be. And so she's trying to find her allies where she can among the directors to see whose vision she kind of aligns with.
All right.
So yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah, it's Pan's the one she hangs out with. He always wants to hang out, and she's like, okay. No, we're gonna go do karaoke. It's gonna be great.
That's what I was trying to say a little bit, was that with Bonnie, interested in the mode of travel, she's helping research. So she does show up
I didn't mean to shit on anyone's work ethic. But yeah, she buries herself in work for the foreseeable future, probably.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So now we're going to start talking a little bit longer. Actually, we're going to kind of just push way deep into this, and we're going to look at the rest of people's lives. We're going to talk about what big moments are going on throughout their lives. One of the big questions that I know people have on their minds, because they have, because I asked the question, what was Bonnie and Kyle? Bonnie, could you change your name so I can
It's
read?
because I have work.
Angela?
I have Zoom at work, and then I log in here
understand. For people who have ADHD brains, to help them out, change your name.
Got you covered.
So Bonnie and Merrick, what was your wedding like?
It
How
depends.
big is the Pinterest board?
Don't call me out like this, Angela.
Did you stealth in? I want to know that. Did you just appear at the altar?
Did we both just disappear?
Or were you actually the priest and you switched places?
The ceremony was half over before anybody realized
You were gone?
That the bride and
groom were there.
Oh.
So we were trying to be a stealth for as long as possible. No,
The wedding just ends with the prestige.
See, the problem, I was actually thinking that, Pygmy, that was my thought. Exactly.
Yet Arthur's the one wearing the meat tuxedo.
See, I don't think that Merrick would have, I don't think that Merrick would have been able to get married because the person that he wants to be his best man is traveling the multiverse with his mother. So gotta wait until he gets back.
You're gonna wait until they get back? What if they never come back?
It's 53 jumps. I mean, they come back.
53 jumps. I was expecting they were going to spend months in each one of those areas. It's going to be a few decades.
Some wouldn't be livable though. It was Oh,
I see what you're saying.
So fair enough. If Merrick can't wait for Arthur to get back,
I guess how long would you wait?
Cast send him.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we really want to get hitched. Can you guys stop by for a week?
He would ask Sam instead.
Aw.
Excuse me, I have an entire closet full of suits. I'm personally offended.
I've already claimed you, so
Oh my.
Sam.
because Bonnie would be Addie.
So how long has this been after?
Person of honor, please.
Several
What
years?
would you say, Tessa? No, not that. Not
Maybe
quite
a
that
year.
long.
Maybe a year.
Yeah.
They're definitely not back in a year. Yeah, no. Definitely.
Well,
Okay.
that's because Liara had said a year will give me enough time to plan the wedding. So Bonnie's like, I don't want to fuck around with Liara because she could crush me with like her pinky. So
That being said, there are a lot of family members there.
Well, she
Yeah.
met all of them on
And
their first date.
family
so.
members. No, she didn't.
oh god, Bonnie's side is very small. It's probably her mom, her stepdad, and her siblings. Lex and Riku on her side.
But you're a
That's very
member
true.
of the family now, so they're all on your side as well.
That's true.
There's an entire half that's empty, and wherever they are.
So I guess my next question is, does Sam have a date?
Or does Lex have a date?
Or do
God.
both have a date? Or are they dating each other?
Well,
You
that
can't.
would
That
be
doesn't
a
include
red
you anymore.
I was gonna
the
say
question, so I don't know.
That's
I
a
think.
fun
I
question,
think
yeah.
you have dibs. So
On Lex
Everyone
or on
stares at him.
Sam?
Either. yes,
Uh,
you have dibs in this decision, in this canon of
Yeah.
the world.
oh Lord. Okay, hold on.
Oh, dice roll.
Yes, because I don't know. She didn't meet either of them for very long initially, so we have
You
to
guys get married.
fill
And,
in gaps.
so
Lex.
oh, nice.
Val is there with Lex.
All right.
I'm 100% here for this
I-
decision.
I have a mean thing to do.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
That bums Adelaide out a little bit.
You were rooting for Sam. I know.
Yeah. Actually, yes.
All right. So we'll discuss that a little bit more later. So what was the wedding? So you obviously had to get married in a bar with some sort of trapezoidal with 100 dark corners. Most of your family is hiding in the dark corners.
Non-Euclidean geometry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
non-
single
So-
candle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably Bonnie's ring that she gets Merrick is fashioned out of dark tungsten and a whiskey barrel for Hid.
An entire whiskey barrel. It's a hula hoop.
No, it's very small.
It's a small whiskey barrel.
No, the ring is very
Yeah, it's
small.
made
It's just
for a
piece.
finger. It's like a thimble.
It's like a
I'll
child's
shut
finger.
up.
or something.
Like baby.
Oh my
food.
God.
Where did Merrick get a child's finger?
You
I don't know,
wanna
but it's got this cool ring on it.
I don't know. Kyle, you add something. I have no idea. So, did we pick a theme?
Yes,
I don't
Oh
know.
yes. What's the theme?
the Goblin Village. So there's like smush
Is
wine
that
being
like a Grecian
served.
urn?
Yes. There's smush wine everywhere.
Yeah,
Pugnut
there's-
is definitely
Literally everywhere. They have painted the walls with it.
The mushrooms are just now regrowing in this place. They'll never be able to scrape it out. Ebes is there with Nougat. Ebes is the bouncer.
Perfect.
So we want
It's
Ebes to be
scary
there.
that your wedding needs a bouncer.
Well, think about
Bonnie-
the attendees, dude.
Bonnie
Never
asks
done
Pugnut to walk her down the aisle.
Oh
Aw.
my god.
Oh.
He does so. Does he bring a pet with him? As the ring bearer?
Probably.
Do we have a ring?
Probably.
Do we have a ring owl bearer?
We do have a ring owlbear. It is Slash.
Oh my god.
Perfect.
As Bonnie walks down the aisle, you just hear this very quiet chorus of "Fuck Bonnie's dad, fuck Bonnie's dad."
Alrighty.
Or maybe
Well,
that's just
that sounds like
Natalie's
a
dad,
wonderful
I don't
wedding. So Val,
Yeah.
oh my god, this button. How's your life?
In terms of big moments,
Sure. Yeah. What happened over the course of your life?
okay, how far are we going? All
Well, big moments
the way
throughout your
through or
life.
just
Not
Okay.
not including end of life stuff. Let's keep it to the positive stuff.
Okay.
Pretend it's a Folgers commercial. Go.
Yeah.
the best part of waking up. Yeah.
Is Lex in your...
Let's
That's
not
my
make-
Really?
sibling, and I feel really uncomfortable now.
Damn it, Siobhan, wait for it. I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, we're getting there.
No, I live longer than all of the people here, and it makes me sad. I don't
Do
want to
you?
think about that.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. Because half elves live longer, chronologically speaking.
It depends. Is Merrick an artificial Merrick, or is he the real one?
That's
Yeah,
another
that's
great
true.
question.
Val first. Val first.
Sorry.
Come on, Val. Tell us about
It's fine. We
tell
keep
us all
going off
the
on tangents.
goofy shit about your life.
Okay, well, so since I said she's there with Lex at the wedding, I think just because she's friends with Bonnie, she keeps running into Lex, and they had a real connection over the whole like cleric thing and being awkward socially because neither of them knew what they were doing. So just gradually they ended up
Big
being
move.
like, let's go on a real date instead of a fake one. Like, well, let's try it. Why not? And
Who asked who?
I feel like Val probably asked Lex, just because Lex seemed less.
I think it went that way.
Less aggressive about anything except wanting to find Riku.
Yeah, unless you were somehow able to convince Lex that asking you out would have saved their sister, then maybe then they would have been able to do it. But okay. That's not good.
No, Ren is not here, so I'm not gonna push too far into
we're talking about them.
into agency of taking away the agency of their character.
They're
but
an NPC now. They're a guest, so you do whatever you want.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely.
The campaign is literally over. They're never going to play it again.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
That's fair. I'm just used to thinking of like, don't make up decisions for the other person's character.
I understand that because it is actually a very difficult thing, and if you don't want to, you don't have to.
But yeah, dating I think is fine. Beyond that, I hadn't thought in terms of like long-term romances or anything. But I definitely think they start dating. She kind of feels bad about Sam because he seemed like he was interested in her, but she only saw him twice, and the chance of her running into Lex repeatedly is significantly higher since she's Bonnie's sister, or their Bonnie's sister sibling.
Well, I meant Sam is literally training at your place, but yeah. No, I agree. I think Lex makes more sense.
Sending and stuff to contact her parents. She's not going home constantly, so
yeah.
Working all those toes.
I mean, he does have actual pythons for arms.
I mean, that would be I don't know how the character was envisioned situation, so my brain hasn't processed that as a possibility.
And let's not worry about it. What else happened in your life?
I think that eventually she does get Helmsfar to agree to try out her sort of joint proctors, and
I'm going to go one farther and actually say that that he recommends a kind of partnership after a few years, probably, to where the knights come in and get the full access to the Birchfield and you basically become a form of proctor, and it's like an extra training area that you can become a knight of this order as part of your training to become a proctor. So you start to specialize in different areas. Not saying anybody has to or whatever, but as part of a religious organization and a martial organization, it works really well.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And it would make sense too, because then any of the knights who still follow Wayuna but are more like Val and aren't quite 100% wanting to just go out on campaigns where they fight undead all day, it gives them something else to do.
And the Birchfield does fight its share of undead, but also gives Helmsfar, I think, locks into that because it gives the Birchfield an altruistic goal to kind of attach itself to as well. So now, instead of just being this kind of selfish organization that, we do the research and we train and we library and we do the knowledge thing, but now we have a charity to get behind as well. This goal, this idea of being able to do this good thing. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think that's her sort of biggest life accomplishment, is getting that organized and with Helmsfar and creating something that actually works really well for the knights and for the proctors.
Perfect.
She gets to mesh the two together.
Awesome. Arthur, what do you got? Anything big? Any big moments?
What do I have? I had a question for you actually.
Sure.
My shield,
Your pet.
yeah. What was it? That wasn't a flumph, right? That was
your pet is a mimic.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so
but you also have a flurmp that follows you around.
I did get one of those. Okay, I never named.
There is one flurmp that never leaves you. Well, it does after about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Oh no! How dare you give them an average life?
Ah, that hurts.
It was just left behind.
No.
It doesn't mean it was dead.
Give it time. We'll all get to be sadder soon.
Found somebody
Kept
new.
floating, even after.
So
It just turns upside down and just floats into the sky.
No.
Like a little paper lantern.
God.
I hate you all.
The fishbowl of life.
Oh.
So my pet grows. I mean, I don't know. I would be concerned with that. Like, that's
no.
like,
The mimic it stays about the same size. It was fully grown. It was a little stunted. It's kind of a runt of a litter type, and it never gets any bigger. But it does kind of start responding to you a little bit more. It's some days it's happy just being something. Whatever. It still turns into whatever you need. But other days it's just a goofy amorphous kind of blob, and it likes just running around and having fun with you.
So
it likes to play hide and seek.
Tried to name it Pastrami.
Okay.
And Liera would just no. She objected over and over and over, and it went on for a long time. Like he insisted, but in the end, Arthur ended up naming the mimic Lotus.
Aww.
So that is the mimic's final name.
I like it. Lotus. Perfect.
I don't know. We really just keep hopping around, and we end up back. I would think that we get back together and have a meal. I would discuss when we do open the portal and we see that it is our original planet. That I'm like Liera and I discuss like kind of a joke, because we know how it was left in Bonnie's and Merrick's care, that Liera comes in and is just like questioning everything, like this like disapproval and all of it, like and playing it off like what has happened, and then gives way and just is happy. That's about it.
All right. Roll me percentile.
53.
So 4 years and 5 months is how long you guys are gone.
Wow. Okay. I don't picture us ever getting married. We just kind of.
Yeah, Liara doesn't. That's not something necessary that Liara would want either. I mean, she would if you wanted to, but otherwise, yeah, not a big deal. Although she is very. She can. I mean, she treats you like you are, especially after 4 years of travel. It's not like there's no difference to her. You're just a piece of paper. Merrick? No, we did Merrick. Adelaide?
I was debating how long this would take, but it probably took a lot less than, it probably was in that first chunk of time, the first few years, that Adelaide makes a concerted effort to reconnect with the other members of her family, especially her older sister Charlotte. If there was somebody that she actually got along with, it was probably Charlotte. But yeah, she makes a little bit of an effort to reestablish connections. I think she's dealt with a lot of shit and seen other people, Bonnie, deal with a lot of worse shit, and so she got a little perspective and thought that it was worthwhile to make an attempt at reconciliation, despite having stormed off, literally. So yeah, she spends some time trying to reconnect her family. There is a point where people pairing off gets to her a little bit. One of several reasons she didn't get along with her dad was partly because Adelaide is ace, and the expectation of marrying off and having to have kids was not really of interest to her. She's not like against romance or the concept of children or marriage, but there's just a lot of expectations and stuff that made it difficult to connect to people and and find someone who would understand that. So she spends a long time trying to find other ways of connecting with people and finding someone special. I don't really know what that looks like. Spent a lot of time thinking about that I'm not actually sure what that is for her.
Yeah, it's funny because when you said that Adelaide was ace, and right before you said that, I was thinking, oh yeah, Adelaide's absolutely ace. When you started talking along that, and I was like, so it's funny because you and I've never talked about that. That never came up that I'm aware of, that I remember. So I think it's a testament to how you played Adelaide that it just came across like it was very obvious to me. And probably something about judging a book by its cover there, but it just as soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense because I think you played it like that very well. So
that doesn't mean that she's like I said, doesn't mean she's not opposed to romance. I brought it up during the wedding. Adelaide had a crush on Lex. There was like she made an well, yeah, I know, obviously. No, Lex made an impression, and Adelaide something suddenly kind of triggered, like, oh, I have a type. Okay. And so I would say she probably spent a lot of time socializing with people at the Birchfield and the archives. So she, honestly, if she ended up with somebody, it probably would be some bookish person who she got along with.
Didn't sit around and do books with.
And do books, yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, did we actually do a long term for Merrick, or did we just do the short term? And then we did the marriage.
We talked about the wedding, but we didn't really talk about
while we kind of roll into this, just because I already know the answer to it, let's talk about kids and who might have had them. So I know Merrick and Bonnie have an answer to this.
Yes.
Good answer. Now moving on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We'd probably end up having 3 of our own. And then because
your mom shows
Merrick,
up and says only 3.
I was getting there, Mom.
Just your body sigh in the background.
Guy who played my mom.
Guy who played my mom. That's going to be my tagline on the credits of the next
two
guy who played my mom.
I mean, there's 2 guys who played your mom.
Oh!
How dare!
Well, I mean, there's a beginning. There's a beginning to every story, Mary. Calm down.
That burn just came through my keyboard. I felt that so acutely.
So, given Merrick's history with adoption, he would actually want to do the same. I think he and Bonnie had discussed that. If they didn't have any of their own, he would definitely want to pursue that. And after having some of their own, he's like, there's still something there that needs to happen.
She has no problems with that. She's like, yep, more the merrier. Come on.
Cool.
Everybody gets love. That's just her MO.
So how many altogether in the end?
That I don't know.
1 second.
Okay, you roll.
I want to know what size die. Yeah, probably.
I feel like you just.
I am afraid of what size die he is grabbing right now.
Percentile. What else?
Well, yeah.
Percentile. Nice.
Arthur rolled a percentile 70.
All right.
Children. So, in one way or another, the two of you touch the lives of 70 different children over the span of your lives. I think that's awesome. That's a lot.
Drawing them into a life of crime.
Yeah.
Liara comes home.
Only 70.
House is full with kids, and she's like, "What
Is
the
this
hell?" Bonnie and Merrick's house would absolutely be the friend's house that every troubled teen goes to in high school. Absolutely.
Door is open.
Yep.
If you can jimmy the lock.
Or you have a friend that can jimmy the lock. Or you can pay someone to do it. Or you can get into the window. Or you can cling to Merrick's back and he doesn't notice.
It's a really long convoluted
There's a long
bio.
list of, yeah.
There is always spaghetti on the stove and garlic bread ready to go.
I'm sorry, how is that different than normal?
It's not.
Okay.
Just Bonnie keeps that up.
We actually have an enchanted pot that just
Yes, we do.
Producing it.
Pot of spaghetti.
Your mom is probably not happy about that. She did not like mixing magic with food.
but her food is
70
magic.
kids to feed.
Yeah, that's she's like, that's an average Tuesday. What's wrong with this? And yet she still found time to do this.
Have you met half the lotus pads? They're giant children.
Tallest
spaghetti
halflings
tub.
ever.
Go over to the sauce trough and get yourself some.
It's a bucket, not a ladle.
Sauce faucet.
Sauce faucet.
Faucet.
A saucet.
Sauce.
That's
One side
Arthur.
is
Arthur comes home and invents that.
one side is marinara, the other side is creamy white.
Comes to Adelaide holding plans for a saucet, and I'm like, I'm not making that.
Only gives the tomato gravy.
That's how you
It
keep the
has been
recipe under
spoken.
lock and key. You have to.
Did anybody else have any kids?
Possibly. I mean, probably later. Again, not opposed to family life, so she might have settled down at some point.
Okay.
When it took a very long time for her to feel like there was some sense of routine and that she had some stability under her, and once she kind of felt like that, then that would open up the opportunity for her to be like, consider finding someone, and then consider later after that having kids. But
Sure. Yeah.
I have not planned beyond that.
Yeah, I feel like Val probably would have been more interested in adopting rather than having her own long term, especially like seeing what Bonnie and Merrick are doing, bringing in all these kids. She'd be like, yeah, I like that idea. There's a lot of kids out there who did not get enough love. And like, especially doing the work we did, we've probably seen some of those kids who didn't ever find anyone and so turned really, really bad. So the idea that she could help someone would appeal to her. So I think adoption would probably be how she'd want to go.
Okay. So I have one more question before we get into the more heavy stuff. What NPCs do you connect with long term? Is there any NPC that you kind of stick with and want to stick in contact with and stay with, besides family, direct family, or anybody we've already kind of mentioned for the most part, unless it's a significant sort of different relationship? So what NPC, don't pick more than one for right now. We can talk about more later, I guess, but try to find one right now, or a group of one. Yes, Bonnie.
Captain Jasper. I think
Captain Jasper.
She probably maintains a lifelong friendship with him.
Absolutely, I agree. Every time he comes back into town, you go see him because he doesn't really leave his ship or his cave. Every time you show up, he's going to offer you a spot on his crew. You're going to decline from what it sounds like for the most part. And then after you decline, he says, well, all right, your husband can come too. And you still decline.
I keep telling him to ask me next time.
Yeah. And that probably becomes a big routine until at some point, I think one of your children ends up joining him. And the one that's kind of taken on that love of that sort of adventurous lifestyle. And they go off. So who would that be? Which one of your children goes and does that? You can't tell me you haven't named them already.
We actually didn't name her.
Okay.
We had a middle name picked out for one of the kids.
All right.
Thing
Potentially.
1, thing 2, and thing 3.
There you go.
No. It would probably be their daughter.
Okay. So your daughter grows up to be just like mom.
Yeah. And I think we were talking about potentially calling her Liara Dahlia.
Oh.
And so she's the one who goes off and becomes a member of the kid crew.
Perfect. I love it. Liara Dahlia or Delia?
Dahlia is the name of the god.
Dahlia is
So.
I got that wrong 100 times, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur.
So, thinking about it, I think the only NPC that I would be able to interact with would be Brindlehooves.
Sure,
because of the wild magic. He would just appear off and on, doing random things in different planes and stuff. So I think I have the most interaction with him, helping him into tight spaces and just kind of
out of tight spaces.
And out of, yeah.
Perfect.
Reminiscing.
I like that. Right? Perfect. Brindlehooves. Brindlehooves was, out of all the NPCs that got created, besides one particular interaction, Brindlehooves was absolutely my favorite NPC that had been introduced by anybody in the group. The only one moment that I enjoyed more was the Froggy moment, where I played the Toad song for Critical Bard when he came in. That 4 minutes was the best 4 minutes of my life. And thank you, Merrick, for playing along with that. It was hilarious. But other than that, Brindlehooves absolutely was my favorite NPC, and I really love seeing him come back again and again. All right, who else? Oh, and thank you, Matthew, because I believe Brindlehooves was yours.
Yes, Brindlehooves came from Matthew. Val would actually want to stay in touch with... would want to stay in touch with Pugnut.
Oh, sure. Pugnut. Yeah, Pugnut's not going anywhere. He's staying in town. He probably starts growing smushwine mushrooms and inside of a warehouse or something, and and starts making smushwine and takes care of his animals. And yeah, he's very happy in town here.
I think it would partly be because she, besides the fact that she likes Pugnut, the idea that he could help as a liaison for some Underdark training.
Sure.
For the proctors and the knights. So it's perfect because she can, talk to him and have him help her set that up also.
Yeah, I like that. That's great. Merrick? That look on your face.
Merrick would, is it any surprise who he would go to? I mean, it's true that Merrick took over the Lotus Pads, but it's just the fact that they never had any sort of dress code really bothered him. And so, of course, Merrick partnered with Marco to create uniforms for the Lotus Pads. And a side project.
And Marco's first comment, although you'll eventually convince him, is, you want me to make 2 of something?
No, each one of them can be unique, but all of the outer coats have to be the same. But the insides, they can be all different.
Oh, like
it's like the winter. It's like the winter line of Marco.
Polo. I like that. That's good. I'm sure that joke's been done. I don't remember it.
Marco will cut a bitch if anyone suggests he make a polo.
So,
probably, yeah.
Perfect. So, Marco, I love that. Who haven't we heard from? Adelaide.
You brought him up, so I think Helmsfar would probably be someone that Adelaide would.
I think that's a
keep
big,
very close,
and probably
with.
Ig.
Yeah.
And Helmsfar will eventually let you know that Ig revealed himself to him in the middle of the murder, dropping his cover of being the ignoramus, and to let him know that he has a friend there, but also don't fuck with me. And Helmsfar probably at one point will let you know that he actually is a little scared of Ig. That
Don't
even though he
ever
plays,
let him offer you a drink.
even though he's a little bit, it's hard to forget since he plays the insane old man so well. It's hard to forget that he's not that person. but the things that he's been able to do really put Helmsfar on edge. But he always kind of ends those types of talks with, well, as long as he's on our side, and you probably have to bite your tongue to, like, well, I mean, it's working for him, so he is for now type of attitude.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think those are great. Is that everyone?
I did have something to add.
Great.
Because I realized I had an answer to the marriage, or the future romantic question. Because it's our game and I made them. There's a particular director we never got to meet, and I realized that I thought he was cute.
Which one was the director we haven't got? Which one didn't I use? Shoot, I tried to use them all.
Ven was the head of finances. He's a thin half-orc man who has gold pierced tusks, and he uses a sort of a wooden wheelchair that doesn't have handles.
Okay.
And everyone makes a distinct point to be in his good graces because he controls all the money.
Oh.
And so he was potentially someone.
I think it's because the Birchfield finances didn't need to be rolled into any of the intrigue, so that's why I didn't end up using him. I was already doing so many of them, especially after I brought in the two that we did spend very little time, Pan and the woman. I'm trying to remember her name.
Oh, I have the document.
Stasia?
Yeah, Stasia Rusitel. I love the Birchfield directors, and I'm totally using them in something in the future. They're delightful. I spent for everyone's behind the scenes knowledge. I built a whole document of Birchfield directors for each of the departments.
Yeah, it was very good. It did a very, very good job, and we will have those on the World Anvil eventually, and put all that out there. All right, so now we get to the stabby. So gear up. So Bonnie and Merrick, who dies first?
Fuck you.
Oh, God.
Damn it, Logan.
I gotta do this.
This is what you all came for, isn't it? Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
No. Kyle, you want to roll off for it?
Sure.
Because I don't know.
Oh, no.
A contested constitution contest.
What are we rolling?
I'm rolling a d20, and I guess whoever is highest chooses.
Oh, choose.
What?
Okay.
Oh God, this is the worst.
I hate.
I rolled an 8.
I'll DM it to Logan. Oh, okay. I got a 15.
You get to choose.
Jesus Christ.
Go for
Have
it.
to choose.
I can't do that to myself, so I think Merrick goes first.
How?
So, I don't know if this is treading on toes, as far as
The
other
campaign's
things are
over. Who
concerned.
the hell's gonna care? Go.
Okay, so after Bonnie takes the lead,
Adelaide
the
stabs
reins,
him. Shit. No.
Yep.
right in the eye,
Waiting.
with the fountain pen, that stupid fountain pen.
With the fountain pen that, by the way, I didn't get to use and is still filled with sulfurous acid water. Didn't get to use it, and I was gonna.
So that's morbid. But
And messy.
he probably dies at the hands of someone that he ran afoul of in leading one of the guilds, because I think after Bonnie took over the Lotus Pads, he would have tried to bring back Raven Scratch as an actual language, partnering probably with Adelaide on doing research and development. But then I also got real down deep in this rabbit hole. He was fascinated with the fact that the spiders never actually existed. And so he would have created a cabal of interested parties, of the leaders of the Thieves Guild, probably the head of the Knights, the leader of the Reevesmen, lots of people that were in the city and around the cities, and created the spiders again. And it's probably during one of the spiders' activities that he runs afoul of somebody and ends up getting sulfur to the eye.
Okay. So, all right. So you're taken out by a rival from that you ran afoul with from another one of the thieves' guilds. Now, let's take that concept and make it even more tragic. The person that took you out was someone who knew you extremely well, someone who had lived with you, somebody maybe that even you have taken the time to teach. It was one of your oldest adopted children who had left because it was a difficult time. They found a family somewhere else, and they're the ones that you ran afoul with. And that's a very difficult, tough situation, but it leads to an era. The only way I could see an older Merrick giving any kind of letting his guard down in any way is a situation like that. But we're gonna go ahead and leave that there. But that's what happened. So Liara is still there at that time, and she will definitely be involved in dealing with the rights. Do the Lotus Pads have any particular rights or beliefs, or did Liara, do you think, has any particular rights or beliefs?
I made the joke about paper lanterns, but I believe that there's probably a like a candle lighting ceremony where they set in the river that leads to the ocean. They probably set lotus-shaped flowers alight with ever-burning flame, and like releasing it into the water.
Perfect. I love it. I love that. Oh, that's so sweet. Bonnie, you have anything to say?
Well, no, I'm sad.
Heartstrings, yeah!
I would say that's probably the year that she takes up Jasper on his offer.
Yeah. Does she come back?
No.
Who runs the house? Is it Lyra again?
So, this is a point that I wanted to kind of comment on. Liara, and Merrick would have noticed this over the years, probably first, that as each passing year goes on, Liara really doesn't seem to age. She doesn't seem to change. She's always looked the same. And Liara confesses to probably Merrick early on, and then Arthur eventually, that she had partaken in several longevity potions, and that her lifespan is extremely long. As a matter of fact, she doesn't even know how long she's going to live, and that was something she did because she never thought she'd find any way that could take over the family that she would trust. And then after
extra fucking micromanager.
And then after,
no one can do this better than me. I'm just gonna live forever.
I do think Bonnie does come back. I think it takes her a couple of years, but she does come back. She just needs the time.
Bonnie came around, and then once she realized that Bonnie could handle herself enough, and was like absolutely with the friends that she'd chosen. I meant weird choice in husband, but the rest are fine. And once she realized that, she was like, well, I guess I didn't really need to do that. I can go and live my own life now. And went off with you. But then, so at some point, it becomes very obvious, living around her, that this is happening. So Liara does take over for the time that Bonnie is gone, expecting fully that it's going to be forever. Well, I mean, for however long she's going to live, and not thinking that Bonnie's going to return after that. All the children have grown up, and just not something that's she thinks that Bonnie's going to come back at all.
I think Bonnie probably is gone for 3 or 4 years, and then she comes home, and she'll stay in touch with Liara via sending because she loves Liara.
All right,
but I think she's away for a while.
Very cool. So Bonnie, I'm assuming Merrick, you got a normal human lifespan, right? Or you
halfling.
Extended? I don't know what halfling is, so.
I think it's just a tiny bit longer than humans.
Okay, so not double, just a little bit longer. So I figured you were older when that happened, but Bonnie, you still got over half your life left after that?
Yep.
So is there any big things that happen post Merrick? Do you get remarried?
No,
Do you
I don't think she ever gets married again.
Okay.
she will she'll continue taking in children. But I think after that she kind of just throws herself into research with Adelaide. Pretty much is just that she becomes obsessed with research, and that is her life. She can't. She might apply to be a captain with the Birchfield Navy at some point, and put that to use. But I think she pretty much, after a couple of years of just taking the time that she needed, she doesn't ever marry again. It's not in the cards for her, and she just throws herself into her friends and her research.
Okay. Adelaide, sometime about 15 or 20 years after the end of all of this, there is actually human, right? Oh, you're not human. Yeah, human. Okay, so about 10 to 15 years after this, one of the two family members that we have talked extensively about in this campaign, your brother and your father, one of them never has really made amends with you. And
I took Winford's violin.
And they don't before their time pass on. Which one of them dies without any resolution to their difficulties with you?
Her father. I don't think she ever truly reconciles with him. I think there's maybe talks, but she moves on from expecting anything from him. And it's a grief process, but eventually she does sort of just accept that that's something she doesn't get.
Okay. However, the silver lining here is that because of this unresolved issue, and that your brother had pretty much the exact same problems, or at least similar problems, and also did not reconcile, your brother comes to you and pushes for reconciliation, and pushes to become more a part of your life, and learn more about you, and just, well, at least be civil, if not friends.
Yeah, she reconnecting with her oldest sibling, she's more than open to giving Winford a chance. She doesn't tell him that she named an infernal familiar after him, and then it poofed. She'd put that effort out. She wants the family that she thinks can be salvaged.
And how old is Adelaide at the end of the campaign?
At the end of the campaign, Adelaide was, I think, 26.
And Arthur, how old were you at the end of the campaign? 19?
19 or 20.
So,
I started at 19, so however long.
There's a good likelihood that Adelaide's probably going to go first.
Sure.
Over that. So
if only because of the stressful lifestyle.
I was going to say, Arthur's pretty relaxed.
No, I would say that Adelaide never slows down.
Yeah.
She, to a fault, she is
so
someone
then definitely
that
very, very likely.
Yeah,
I think Arthur was done.
Yeah, he was just sort of. It seemed like he was on his relaxation phase. Yeah, he retired at a very young age. It was the slurry. It was a long, slow degradation of health.
That's the secret. The slurry never leaves.
Later, Adelaide makes sure that everyone knows that that you can get slurry poisoning.
Just builds up.
But yeah, she never struck me as somebody who would ever truly be content. I think she spends her entire life moving from one goal to the next, and when she achieves it, she sees something else on the horizon. So I don't think she ever slowed down or retired or anything like that.
How far did she make it in the Birchfield? Did she become a director?
I think she did.
I think so too.
I think she became a director, and
But I don't think
if
even
she
with
became
that she stopped. I think she still was going out and doing missions and
or pushing for the Birchfield to do something else, to be better, to do better. I think she becomes notorious for let's call them HR purges. The idea of people are held to a high expectation, and if impropriety gets sniffed out, she doesn't stand for it. There is obviously a level of leniency, but she's just like, you have to be a good person to work here.
yeah, absolutely.
Could you have become the director of directors?
I think that would have been a eventual, that she would have taken what her father's position would have been. I will say that if she's a director or the director by the time Merrick tragically dies, she makes
I think you die first.
I die first.
Yeah, because
Well,
Merrick
never
has a
mind.
longer lifespan
Then
than
my
than
gesture
humans.
doesn't happen.
Sorry. That's what I was saying. When I said first, I meant first out of everyone.
Then I will say when she passes on in her office. They find her the next morning.
Oh, I'm sure.
She's working.
That's not even a question. But the point is, it was probably something that was unlikely. It was out of nowhere. And I would say that, yeah, you've got a full, state's honors. The biggest, the funerals for Birchfield directors are lavish, to say the least.
When the lights went down in Ashport. Sorry.
Nice. Nice.
So I would like to ask everyone if they have any moment that they would like to share at Adelaide's funeral.
Fuck you.
I would probably, if I'm assuming I make it back for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is probably 30,
To
40 years. It's right before you kick it, Arthur, so calm down.
Knowing Arthur, he's not going to be...
His mimic's been a walking cane for a while. Tennis balls and everything.
He's going to take the podium or stand up, and he's going to share stories of how they met again in the well. And
well.
That... just reminisce about the good old times, and then secretly reveal that he has been sneaking into the library that she's been working on and moving things around, aka what we did in the conversations piece, and not a lot, but just as a chuckle, and that's something that he reveals at her funeral.
You just imagine her going, I'm going to haunt you, you son of a bitch.
Bonnie can't speak at the funeral. She can't. So she does what... Fucking hell, Logan.
Yeah, what the fuck?
She does the only other thing that comes natural to Bonnie is she plays. And she takes the violin that Adelaide gave her, because it's... I'm sorry. Because it's her favorite thing.
That a fuck you heart? I like that.
Yeah, it's fuck you heart. And she plays. She plays for Addie, and she pours all of her feelings for Adelaide into it, and the woman who became her best friend and confidant. And at the end of it, takes the solitary ribbon off the bow of the violin that she has had since the very beginning of their campaign and places it on Addie's casket.
Well, who wants to follow that? Didn't think so.
I do
With what
have
question?
something.
Oh.
Go for it.
Merrick would not want to make light of the issue. I think that in his older years, he's become a little more tame with the acting out. So the one thing that he'll do is when he heard about what was happening, he went to the Birchfield and broke into Addie's office, and from wherever the fuck she was hiding it, he stole her book bag. And
ironically enough, it gets left to him in the will. No, it's and he'll go, "Oh, that's so nice of her."
And
But we couldn't find it anywhere.
Oh, tragic.
Tragic.
Must have lost it in the fire.
Wait, what? Is
Did
this
you
not
burn
smoke?
Did you burn my office?
Oh God.
Hide
So
the
there's no
evidence.
evidence.
No, Merrick will pull one last book out of the bag before also putting it on the coffin.
Merrick.
Roll a percentile.
I want to know what book it is. Like,
Which
like,
puppies
I
of
want to-
mystery is it?
All right. I wasn't quite ready for this, but hold on.
Gotcha off your on your heels.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting anybody to roll shit.
Well, you
all
killed
right.
me, so it's like,
Yeah,
who's gonna pull from the book bag now?
How very appropriate.
That's it. That's all this session is just making us cry with Epilogue.
What did-
If the AMA will never happen. It's just we're all
What did
tears
you-
now.
What did you roll?
I'll wait until he has the sheet.
I mean, I can guess what you rolled.
Do you want to put it out there into the universe?
Well, can I say a word and you just tell me if I'm right?
Sure.
Nice.
No, actually.
Damn it! You gotta let him pull it up.
You know, Adelaide was always the stick in the mud. She never knew how to have a good time. It was always Adelaide when I heard that voice in the back of my head. Anytime I was about to do something that I really, really, really wanted to do, that would tell me, hold on. I'm gonna miss you, Mum.
All right. What'd you get?
100.
It's the Hitchhiker's Guide.
Don't panic.
The
The only thing we
final
carried is-
puppies of mystery. Death of the Basketwork Hound.
That's good.
Third grade
Spoilers.
reading level.
Okay. Val?
I've been thinking about it. I was considering doing something with the book bag too.
Oh,
But
sorry.
Everyone shows
oh,
up
no,
at
no,
my
it's
office
fine.
to steal the book bag.
So Val's also really old by this point then. Because half-orcs also don't have a super long lifespan. But she probably took it easier in her older years than Adelaide did. I don't know that she'd be able to get up and talk much either. Just too much emotion, kind of like Bonnie. But she does have the knights come out and perform an honors, whatever the honor ceremony is that they have. Especially since I'm sure Adelaide would have been part of making sure that the knights and the proctors were working together. And also specifically asks anyone she's close with in the knights to help her consecrate the ground. just as one last honor.
So I'll just stand around and stare at it really hard, intently.
Turns out somebody was a vampire. They just burst into flames.
Concentrate. Oh, concentrate.
No, they bury her in liquid stone. Oh, that's concrete.
Lava.
That's concrete.
Lava is liquid stone. Arthur?
Kind of.
I already did my. I
You
spoke
did?
already.
Sorry. All right. Is that everyone?
Hmm?
Right, because there's only 4. Right. That's what it was throwing me.
All
So,
right, somebody died.
the only other one I was going to say was that Sam does get up and sing kind of an operatic, but he does it completely with puppets. Well, not puppets, but his hands.
So snakes.
Snakes. He does it with snakes.
Okay, just checking.
All right. Well, I think we've got.
Now that we're all bummed out.
Let's see who's next. Val.
Yes.
But you're a half orc, right? Actually, I
Yeah.
think your lifespan might be shorter than humans, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Not
Adelaide,
to
Adelaide,
She was
Adelaide
the
was-
youngest, though.
That's true.
Yeah. I was only
Not to give
16,
Arthur homework,
17.
but Arthur's human too.
Yeah, I
I was
know.
only
I'm getting
16,
to Arthur.
17 when the campaign
Okay.
ended.
So how does Val go?
In her sleep like a goddamn chip because she earned it keeping our asses alive.
I mean, I honestly think that's most likely what would happen. I think she's still, she wasn't adventuring anymore, but was still working. Really, Ange?
I think that's canon
was
now.
still was still working with the Birchfield and the Knights in terms of sort of overseeing some of the proctor and knight relations, but she wasn't actively going out and doing anything. It was more of like an office position, and gradually just stopped doing that even, and just relaxed at home. It was like, I've saved enough people now. I'm gonna go home and sleep.
Yeah.
So I think she dies at home, probably with whatever adopted children or family she has at that point. Her sister was a half-elf. Her half-sister was a half-elf, and her stepfather was an elf. So they're probably still around. In addition to any family they have now. And Lex or whoever she ended up with, and their adopted children and everything. But it's quiet and peaceful, and she's surrounded by the people she loved. And her friends, if they were hale and hearty enough to get to her at the time, and there was enough warning, I'm sure, but...
All right. We decided to leave ambiguous your spousal kind of relations, if any.
Yeah.
Does anybody have anything in particular? Would they have attended Val? Would people? I mean, I'm not sure how if people would be notified before you were buried or anything. If there would be time for them to come to the funeral, or
Well, I mean, gentle repose is a thing, so I think that there probably would have been some sort of situation where someone cast gentle repose so that people would have time to get there, because not everyone's going to have been within the same city.
Yeah.
Because I think when she retired, she probably went to Horsforth, where she was born,
Okay.
and didn't necessarily retire in Ashport. It's not super far away, but it's far enough that people wouldn't be like around the corner.
All right. So does anybody have anything that they wanted to? Anybody who's alive had anything they
I was
wanted
going,
to?
well, fine.
Any moment that they would have had for Val? Any thing they would have done? Arthur?
I would have, completely opposite of Adelaide, been very stoic and showed and made an appearance, and not that much was needed, but like I said in the letter, that Wayuna was always like Val this, Val that, and very proud. And I would have asked that Wayuna accompany me, take time out of whatever the god stuff they're doing, and just kind of stand there. And I would just be beside Wayuna and probably have make sure that the Knights of Sorrow did the same ceremony that was performed. She had performed for Adelaide.
Perfect. Anything else?
Merrick would now that he's left a token at one of his friends, he's going to leave another token, and it's going to be a tiny jade grasshopper inside of an alms box.
That's stupid,
That's a
Willie. Darn.
cool for those of you who might not have caught the early.
I love it.
Because that was like that was the first moment that Merrick realized that, like, oh, she's not just a big dumb orc in armor. Like, she's actually, like, she's got a brain, and she's a, valuable person. Like, it's when he actually started to connect.
6 months into the campaign.
Like I said, he was afraid of letting down his guard. Come on.
And
right.
as Merrick walks away, Merrick, your arm's off. He'll repeat the joke quietly to you.
Bonnie, have anything you want to say or do?
Bonnie plays. Again, she has a hard time speaking in these circumstances, just because, while she wasn't as close with Val as she was Adelaide, she's still, especially if Val ended up, especially if she ended up becoming Bonnie's sister-in-law, then, she's going to be a wreck. So I think the one thing that she does besides playing is that Bonnie slips the Torque of Healing off of her arm and places it on Val's casket.
Oh, idiot, that's useful.
You can hear Val saying it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, she can. That's why she does it.
It's just like... perfect. Arthur, what was your last meal?
Well, and this answers one of the questions later. If I was true polymorphed into a sandwich, what would it be? I think, well, one of two things. Let's see. What would I want it to be of the two? I think it would be a scuttle claw roll, like a lobster roll. Lobster roll, only scuttle claw, like light mayo, paprika. Yeah.
Yes or no? Did Arthur know it would be his last meal?
Probably not, and no.
Okay.
Honestly, no. He's old, I imagine.
Yeah,
Just dies of natural causes, or
heart attack.
I had him.
Too much stimulation.
If you're leaving it up to me, I actually had him. I had his death decided. So.
Oh, all right. I'm listening.
I could have, in the true spirit of Arthur, in full circle, he had and Adelaide knows what's happening. I have my sandwich.
Don't tell me you fell down a well.
I fell down a well.
God damn it.
Wayuna is nothing if not a lover of irony.
That's
or
exactly.
Of parallelism.
So.
All right. I like that even better than the legacy you would have left dying while having sex with Merrick's mom. Maybe it's both.
No, there's nobody else around.
Did you get it a well?
Trapeze? No, over a well. He just slipped.
Yeah, and that's how it ends. And Wayuna comes down, and I see the little crow at the top of the just like I did the first time, and I
So
pass
what you're
off.
telling me is that the first time you met Wayona, she showed you your death.
Maybe.
Oh fuck! Yes.
That's amazing. All right.
Yeah.
It's a very
Um,
patron thing to do.
So
Mhm.
Merrick and Bonnie, do you have anything
Oh,
after they
fuck,
finally
yeah.
find him and fish him out of the well?
There's just weird, awkward laughter during he's awake or something. And we're just like, he'd want us to enjoy the story, right?
There is so much food in his wake.
But yeah, Bonnie is like, we're throwing out all the stops, and basically, I think between her and Liara, probably cook for 4 days straight just to make sure there is enough food at the wake. Because that's the best way Bonnie can think of honoring Arthur, is just having all of his favorites there.
Okay.
What? Oh man. Arthur. I
That's
think
it. Just
Merrick,
walk off.
yeah, I think Merrick would just, like,
Eat a sandwich over his grave.
Like
just-
a performance piece, you sit there and slowly eat the entire sandwich.
Yes,
Afterwards, everyone
no.
just kind of politely
Mhm.
claps and cries.
yeah, and I like there's like sauce in the sandwich, and of course like the sauce is on my face, and pull up the handkerchief and just dab it off, and then just right on the coffin. Just
Thanks, I hate it.
Camera is on the coffin.
You
looking
open
up
the
at
coffin
Mac, just
and you pull
slow-mo sauce
his little-
dripping like rain.
You pull his little napkin square out and get a new one, and
And then-
or I try to, but it's attached, so it's just
Right.
like it's
No.
you just take off his jacket, start using the sleeve,
At some point, something that you're wiping with, like
turns into
napkin or whatever, turns back in. It's the mimic,
And
and
it
it just
starts
shakes
eating.
everything
God.
off.
and it starts eating. And then the mimic crawls over and just lays on top of the coffin
No.
you
Until-
don't you dare.
until they bury it, and then he gets off and he stays with Liara.
I thought you were gonna Futurama us, and I was
Yeah.
not
No.
prepared.
Mm-mm-mm.
No, hell no, I would never betray you like that. I'll betray you, but I'm not going to betray you like that.
Thank you.
The mimic turns into a petrified dog.
Bonnie.
Sorry.
Hey, Futurama
Mhm.
did redeem themselves though. Bonnie, you have anything you want to say or do at Merrick's funeral? Since we already know he died, how he died. You and Liara are in attendance.
God, yeah, we're the only two left.
Well, I mean, there's quite a few other people there, but Ig's probably passed
Yeah,
on at
I
this
mean-
point, and a lot of the directors are.
Weirdly, his entire body was just mummified and preserved by all the slurry he was consuming. Who needs formaldehyde?
I don't. This is hard. Let me think.
It's okay to not have something. You don't have to have something in every moment.
I don't think that Bonnie's
Bonnie's the one that's probably being consoled mostly during this.
yeah, I think Bonnie at this point is just like, especially with how he died, I think she's a little mad at this point.
Yeah.
Not like angry mad, I think she's inconsolable.
And as much as I hate doing this, we're actually going to leave that whole concept of what happened after that alone. We're not going to touch it. We're going to let people kind of. Did you just come up with something?
I had something like
Yep.
as soon as she's.
We're leaving alone what happened, why Merrick was taken, why he was hurt, why he was killed.
Oh no! After that, after the funeral.
Oh, okay.
I had
Well, I
something
meant,
for
but
after the funeral.
but the resolution on it. I wanted to kind of leave that open and let
Yeah,
people
no,
kind of deal with that.
Unrelated.
If you had something
It's
else,
just-
go
but-
for it.
Yeah. So, once Bonnie finally goes home, she will find the blacksmith's puzzle that has been formed into the shape of a heart.
An anatomical heart. It's kind of gross.
It's still beating.
Oh!
I put it in my floorboards and listen to it at night. No, I'm
It's
kidding.
it's a licious phylactery.
It's Adelaide. Fuck off if I'm gonna die like that.
She puts it in her, but she doesn't
Actually,
ever leave home without it. That is something she carries with her every single day. The blacksmith's puzzle, and she leaves it exactly how she found it.
And that leaves Bonnie.
Yep.
So where does Bonnie go? What does Bonnie do for the rest of her life? The 100 and some odd years she has left. And we talked a little bit about it earlier, but we didn't have the context of all of your friends being gone. I mean, your sister was only half, right? No, you're only half.
My sister was human.
Human, yeah.
Because
your
I'm
sister's
half.
gone.
Her sisters were both human.
They're gone.
So they're gone.
Ig is gone. Liara's still there for
My mom's.
most of it. Your mom's gone. Your dad's gone.
I think she tries to continue Adelaide's work at the Birchfield as long as she can. She tries to make Liara proud, but I think there's a part of Bonnie after Merrick goes especially that's never quite as bright. I think that her friends were really where Bonnie drew a lot of her spark from. And I think that she gets a wild hair one day and she's like, I'm gonna go on an adventure. And, you know, when the kids are done being raised and they're a little older and don't really need her, I think she looks to Liara and says that she is going to try some stuff out and work on some research that she'd kind of was developing at the Birchfield.
Okay.
So I think she sets off to go and try and test out that research.
Okay.
I don't think she ever comes home.
All right. So, we have about an hour left. I'm not sure if we should talk about... I mean, well, I guess we should put a final bow on that. That's Shenanigoons, season 1.
That's
and that is that. We'll still talk a little bit about it. We got the AMA here. We've got a lot of questions. Maybe has any questions about the endings of any particular NPCs? We could talk about that. But I think that is a beautiful bow on that. I think that was pretty perfect. Good job, guys. Thank you for coming along on this crazy adventure with us. We're not going anywhere. I know it sounds like I'm rapping. I'm not. So we got the AMA coming, and then we've got still going to talk a little bit about season 2 here in a bit. So let's get right into the AMA. And I have the first question. What was your favorite Wheel of Causality?
Flurmps is pretty high up.
Flurmps was a good
Flurmps.
one. I like Flurmps a lot.
For me, personally, yeah.
That came
Yeah,
out really good. I like Flurmps a lot.
Yeah.
What else?
Recency might be affecting that one, but yeah.
I think the stuffed painted pixies.
Which
Yeah.
was the
Oh,
same
God.
one.
The same one, but like...
Oh, no, I guess not. That was, no, it wasn't. That was the stuffed animal one. That's right. Thank you guys for painted pixies. You guys created those in this campaign. That's the best thing ever. I love that.
They're evil.
I love them.
They're so bad.
Whichever one I enjoyed, it came up a couple times. I enjoyed the one where we had to act out like the other characters.
Yeah, we all had to impersonate.
Mhm.
That was a good
That
one.
was
John Malkovich?
John Malkovich. Yeah.
I enjoyed
Yeah.
that one.
I also have one that will be starting next season where for one scene, your brains will link and you all have to talk one sentence after, or one word after
God.
another. So
No.
that's going to be at least 20 minutes of hilarity.
It's going to be called Whose Line? Is that the name of the...
I think it's, I don't remember what it's called. And then we've got queries only. Was it query something or other?
Oh, that was so beautifully timed.
Because you were interrogating someone basically.
Well, it was all like we were trying to hypothesize things and give theories, not ask questions.
Yeah.
So I had to be like, okay, can't put any.
What
I had literally
about
decided I had
this?
so much. We had been taking a break, and I was like, on that break, I DM'd Logan. I was like, Logan, I had a thought, and he's like, yes, I'm looking at my notes, and so I was all ready to like drop knowledge on everyone, and like right away, I could only ask questions. I was like, fuck.
There's a DM tip for any aspiring DMs out there or current DMs that don't know this trick. Whenever anybody throws anything out randomly, just say, you've been looking at my notes. It really throws them for a loop. It's awesome.
You thought I was talking about, you thought Andy, you were like, hey, tell your husband to stop looking at me.
Yeah, well, there was one that it was like, that one was pretty damn close, actually.
That was me.
There's a picture of him with closest guess.
I like the aging one, the Benjamin Button, which is the getting younger and younger. We also have the reverse of that in there available as well. I don't think we've done the taller and taller or smaller and smaller
Benjamin?
No, it's, I don't remember what we called it.
It's fine.
Rip Van Winkle, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
And then yeah, so there's some good ones. I got some new ideas for next season too. So, and if you have any ideas, you can let us know. We're looking for things that can affect, usually like once a scene and it's not too difficult, or that's the type of things we're looking for. But and we're going to try to limit them next time so there won't be a lot of the same types. Like we have a lot of different, once a scene you have to fit in a line of something, and we're probably going to do one of those on the Wheel of Night. That way we don't get two of the exact same type of thing with just different prompts. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Been looking into a lot of improv games for how to play with that. But that's definitely, the Wheel of Causality will still be here for season 2.0. So that'll be good. All right, Tessa, I believe you are handling the questions. So why don't you dole those out?
Right.
Why don't you give us
Alrighty,
some...
I will try, because I know we have about an hour left and we still have some other stuff to talk about.
What other stuff do we have to talk about?
Season 2, you usually
well, yeah. But I mean, we got 30 minutes for AMA easily.
All right.
Just try to keep our answers succinct and to the point as much as possible. That was a note to me.
For the entire cast, do you think you've learned anything about yourself through your character over the course of the campaign, and are you willing to share it? And that is from Angela.
It's totally not because I haven't answered this question, but I'll wait.
No, I mean,
well,
go ahead.
no, I think you should go first.
Sure, I'll start first.
Arthur?
Okay.
Go, Arthur.
I was going to say,
sorry, his hand went up, so I was like, oh, he has something. Go for it.
Yeah, this is ones I had to think about to see back from the beginning into the end. It's like, so, and I wrote some stuff down as notes because I'm better off of reading things and stuff. So while I can't spell it correctly, sarcasm, as you know, is a big part of my life. And through previous lessons in life, I learned that it needs to be used. There needs to be a sense of trust on both sides. You have to trust the person it's receiving from, and otherwise, basically, it just comes across you're just being mean, which is never my intention. And through playing Arthur, he helped me learn that even with complete trust, there are some times that the joke, the sarcastic remark, can be left unsaid. That the subject matter may be too personal, that it is too personal to the person and not open to my interpretation, and just needs to be left alone.
For me, it's a real hard...
I'm not getting any more specific. So.
Okay, yeah. For me, it's a really hard question to answer because we've had so much in the middle of Shenanigoons happening that I don't know where growth has come from over the past year and a half, 2 years. But there's been a lot of growth in my life, and a lot of it comes from these 5 people, even if it doesn't necessarily come from Shenanigoons itself. So, this is our time to get together and goof around and have fun, and that's very important. Like on days like today, this is up until 5 minutes before we started, I was not in a great headspace, and here I am having one of my favorite times with my hand, my
your assistant.
my thing hand that comes and gives me water. And I need to get them a green glove so it just kind of floats onto the thing.
Oh my god, he would love that. He's your unseen servant.
So that's
I'm trying to think. I had a little bit of a different kind of thought process with this. I didn't necessarily learn. Bonnie was created right after my biological father passed away 2 years ago, and being adopted and not knowing. Sorry, not my biological father, my adopted father. I don't know my biological father, so there was parallels in Bonnie's story that paralleled mine, and at the time when I created her, the idea of learning about my biological father was something that I really wanted, and I didn't know if that was because that my adopted dad had just passed or what the circumstances were, but I think I just kind of learned over the course of the campaign that that's something that while I there's a part of me that wants to know that person, I'm really okay. I have an amazing stepdad who I love, and I'm really cool with just letting that be the case. And I think Bonnie's journey kind of really helped me realize that for myself. Therapy is D&D, y'all. It's real good.
D&D is therapy.
I
Anyone
can
else?
piggyback
Nobody.
on that one.
Oh, go for it.
So, I will say this much. I've already told Logan that this particular campaign was very weirdly cathartic for me. I won't talk any specifics. Go watch the show. I worked through a lot of stuff with Adelaide. So it's been really unexpectedly powerful to have a situation, a fictionalized situation, way worse than what my own actual life experiences are, but in such a way that has given me perspective and has made me kind of evaluate how I approach certain people in my life, and has honestly probably helped me fix some things, whether or not about my own expectations in relationships and about how I react to those people. So it has been incredibly cathartic for me to play Adelaide, because I learned a lot about... I processed a lot. Things that I couldn't process in real life or in therapy or anything like that. So yeah, D&D is therapy.
All right. If we're good with that, if nobody else has anything else, then we'll go ahead and move on to the next question.
Great. For everyone, at any point, did anybody regret things that they chose to do in the campaign and wish they could have handled it differently now?
Are all of these questions for quote-unquote everyone? Because we're not going to get very far. Okay.
No.
All right. We're not
There
going
are
to get
some
very
very
far.
specific ones. I also want to kind of open this one up to also, are there any things that your character did that your character regrets? So we'll kind of combine those into one. Or you guys can pick one or the other.
Please pick one or the other. Pick one thing.
I will say for Bonnie, the thing that she regrets is the situation with Ari. She gave Ari Tristan's ring as a symbol of what you choose to do when you make your own mind up about who you are and what you want, and that spectacularly backfired in her face. So that's, I think, one of Bonnie's biggest regrets, is just how that whole situation went down.
I think Adelaide had... It ended up being a very interesting role-playing situation, but for a big chunk of the beginning of the campaign, I was having Adelaide's sort of drinking to cope, and that ended up being not something that was like a huge storyline, but just the fact that I was able to kind of transition away from that and have her kind of transition away from that in what I think is a relatively healthy way. that was something like she probably regrets having used that as a crutch early on. It just didn't make her feel very like she was making very healthy choices for herself.
Val regrets leaving Bonnie with sea spray at the end, that because in her gut she knew something was wrong, but she could understand the concern for Liara, so that's why she agreed to go. But as soon as it happened, she regretted it, like finding out the truth, realizing that her gut had been correct and she should not have left. That would definitely be something that would bother her.
It was fine. It all turned out fine. It was fine.
Eventually, yeah.
I think that sorry, I didn't mean to tread on that. Okay. I think for me, the bit with it led to a hilarious piece, one of the funniest pieces that we've had. But the bit with Joni Starr and Bonnie,
Oh yeah, don't rewind that one.
I leaned into how I felt Merrick would act, and Kyle didn't really like what I saw there, because he was kind of toxic with how he was reacting to that, and just the jealousy that he was experiencing. I really didn't care for that aspect of Merrick, so I tried to move away from that.
Well, had he ever had feelings like that for someone?
No, and that's why I leaned into it
yeah.
to begin with. But it's still, ignorance does not excuse the toxicity.
But it's okay to have flaws in your character and realizing that. It's okay to play those out as long as they're not hurting the table.
Inexperience leading to
I think that's great.
bad behaviors, but then learning from them and growing from them.
Perfect. My biggest regret was not playing the last 32 seconds of Toad's "All I Want for Christmas" in that scene. I wish I had played the last of it. Regret it to this day.
Next question.
Was that everyone? Everyone got a chance if they wanted to answer or had something? Good. All right, next question.
For Logan.
Uh-oh.
What is the most rewarding part of adding in the audience participation? And what is the most difficult part of adding in the audience participation?
So as soon as you finish the first part of that question, I said, it's the difficulty. That is the rewarding part about it. When seeing people willing to come in, and some of them week after week after week, willing to donate their very, very hard-earned money to support our stream and to make things happen in game. The first time it happened, I'm not sure. I don't think Brindle Hooves was the first NPC. Maybe it was, but
we were on the train. That was really, really
that was early.
Yeah,
so
I think it was.
As soon as that happened, when I saw the money pop up, and I was like, "Oh, we got to do that." Oh, okay, 20. I was like, "Wow, okay, I've got to actually do something with this, and I have to make it really kind of important." Because all of a sudden, I'm like, somebody's willing to pay their hard-earned money for this, and the challenge of introducing them, getting them involved, and trying to keep them involved. And I didn't always succeed, but yeah, just getting that in there is extremely rewarding to know that there are people out there that want to support us, that are willing to support us, and then to also have that challenge of putting those things in the game. That's part of why the wheels became player only, is because other donations I have to deal with all on my own. So I just can't deal with that as well. But also because I want to make sure that people got their money's worth. That affecting an NPC for a split second in a scene that I know they're leaving for the rest of the night didn't really make a lot of sense. So I like this idea of this more long-term affecting the players. So, but yeah, so that's it. It's the idea of getting, the enjoyment of this challenge of being having something thrown at me that I don't really get to control, and then trying to make it into something that that I can be proud of, whether for the goofs or for the seriousness or both, and then seeing how I can help have it affect the game long term.
We have another question for you. How often are you How often are you surprised by a player's choice of how to play out a scene, and how has it affected the story?
If we're gonna peek behind the curtain,
That is the point of NAM.
I would
to peek behind the
say,
curtain.
if people really want the serious answer, I would say the amount of times that I'm surprised by a player's choice is very small. I'm going to say not necessarily because of their choices, but because I have very subtle ways of moving them in directions that I want them to go. And when they surprise me, you'll see it. I mean, I don't hide it. It's moments where I just have to take kind of a moment and stop and just go, okay.
Those moments, like when Mike opens his mouth.
Often, Mike is probably one of those.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
the most.
you actually said that's what you wanted. That's the first thing you want to do.
Yeah, those are the types of moments when you're going to realize that I'm just like, okay, I just didn't see that one coming. But I think a lot, and this is back to ADHD brain. When I think about a scenario, I think about every possible way it can play out. That's just life. I mean, I do that in everyday life. I'm doing it right now. I'm thinking about, well, if I say this, then this, and this can happen, or whatever. So when I'm thinking about a scene, when I'm in the moment, I think, okay, well, if I say this or this, they've got these choices, and they just kind of unfurl in front of me, and I go, okay, I don't want them to have to make these choices, and they definitely wouldn't make these choices. So that gives me this narrow kind of bandwidth that they can go down. And so I'm thinking, okay, they've got 3 or 4 different options that are all likely, and then a few options that are really unlikely. So I'm I kind of know where they're going to go. I have these options. They're not doing exactly what I want. I don't ever actually want them. I never have a thing that I'm like, I really wish you would just done this. Why the heck didn't you just do this? Because I like to play in the space. I'll go wherever they want to go. But there are moments when they do U-turns, and it's just like, I didn't think about that. Those moments are some of my favorite moments in the game. They're just absolutely the best.
This question is for Mike from the entire party. What is it with you and moms?
I did not participate.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
It
just gotta happen.
so many
No, I
campaigns.
I have the answer.
What is the
It's
answer?
the one thing they can't
Replace.
Really strange hearing my son's words parroted back at me like that. I don't like it.
John Mulaney.
Yeah.
I know, but it's still, my child also said it in context, and it makes me
Yeah.
No regrets.
Bad.
No regrets.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. It's I think it's more me, because is it only my campaigns, or have you done another campaign?
No, he did
Oh,
it.
okay. Oh, good. It's not just me.
Been
He
other-
did it in the
Yeah.
Scion campaign we played in with Travis.
Oh, all right, good.
It's a thing. I don't
He
try to
slept
do
with
it.
He slept with one of Tessa's aunts. They were technically her sister, but they raised her like aunts.
It's a power move. It's like Mike is a cat, and there's a bowl of cereal on the counter, and he just wants to
And
make
he
eye
just has to
contact.
push your mom off of it onto his dick.
Jesus
Aw.
Christ.
And Logan's
Ow.
going too
No.
far.
I did. There was the line.
Yeah,
This is just vodka. That's the problem.
Okay. Anyway.
Next
But
question.
no,
question.
there's no conscious. I'm hoping it's not going to happen in Shenanigans too.
I promise
I don't
you, it's
think-
not
oh,
going to happen in
good.
Shenanigans too.
None of
I
our
can,
moms are part of the story, I would hope.
and I don't want anything revealed, but I promise as well.
Yeah.
Let's not. Let's.
Yay.
Thank
All right.
you. I had totally forgotten the context that was
Yeah.
important for me to really understand that.
Yep.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mike.
Matthew, that's the name of my memoirs. I found the line.
Love isn't
Oh,
always
God.
on time.
Subtitle. I tripped over it.
For everybody, what aspects of yourself do you see in your characters, and how did you play to that aspect? NPCs included.
I see every aspect of my character in some part of my
Pugnut.
Pugnut is my spirit animal.
Pugnut's inability to understand what a parrot is specifically.
I love that. It's one of my favorites.
For Adelaide, it was having unrealistic expectations about what success is for you. I played into that pretty hard, that she was sort of, in a lot of ways, paralyzed by the fact that she expected certain things of herself. Not that other people expected it, but like she set her own heightened expectations, and when she didn't meet them, it was stressful. And that's something that I definitely connect with. So it was trying to learn how to loosen her up to help loosen me up.
For me, it was Bonnie's definition of family. My definition of family is always the people I think of family is always expanding. And the idea that found family is just as powerful as blood family is particularly something that I carry with me for a lot of my characters. I mean, everybody here on this screen with me, I consider family. So that's just how Bonnie is, and it's how I am, and it's just, that's something that carries through.
Kind of, yeah. I was gonna say all your characters.
Yeah. It's probably, maybe not Goonies too. Maybe not Goonies too. We'll see. We'll see.
We're all assholes.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think for me with Val, everyone on screen with me right now can attest to the fact that my characters are always me. Something gets amped up.
You just really connect with the fact that she has giant tusks. Just connect with emotionally.
In Val's case, I definitely think I amped up the sort of seriousness and pessimism. I like to think I'm realistic in terms of I hope for the best, but I like to be prepared for the worst, but I don't necessarily expect the worst to happen every single time. I'm the person who always brings extra clothes because you never know what the weather's going to be like. And with Val, I just kind of amped up the seriousness and the being worried that things are going to go horribly wrong. Yes, 2 a.m. Heather is different. Yeah,
I love Kyle. 2 a.m. Heather. 2 a.m. Heather is
we should play a 2 a.m. stream at some point.
2 a.m. Heather has no filter.
Because of my time. Sorry, no salt.
Next question? Or do we have other answers? Next question.
All right. For everybody, what was your favorite part of this adventure? Which campaign was your favorite? I'm going to try and keep us going quickly because I want to make sure we've got some other really good questions that I personally want to know the answer to. So, my favorite adventure was the Infinite Tea Gauntlet. I loved that adventure so very much. So that was my favorite.
The Infinite Tea Gauntlet, I think, was my my Crystal Kingdom. It was the turning point for the Shenanigoons stream, in my opinion, and it was the punniest of the bunch. And I got a lot of good puns in there that you guys didn't catch right away. It was definitely one of my top favorite parts.
Weirdly, one of the adventures that really sticks out to me, just because there are things that are so fundamental to the characters in it, I really dig the Underdark. That whole sequence of events, what a giant clusterfuck it was to try to get stuff done there. Yeah. But just Bonnie beautifully bullshitting her way through that entire arc. And it was just so inspirational to watch you succeed, failing upward just the whole time. and also from a more selfish note, I had a lot of internal cool stuff going on from my character inside, knowing that my father figure was a drow and I knew nothing about the drow. So getting to do a lot of internal, but it was still a podcast, so you didn't get any of the face of me internalizing stuff. But I really loved, and Pugnut came from that, so what's not to love about?
Yeah,
Pugnut, Smushwine, all sorts of things. Scuttle Claws, Sticky Mud,
Abe's. Abe's and Nugget.
Yeah,
not Adelaide's.
That was good.
Not
and Merrick. Merrick got to
with the
see
Twilight
Bonnie in a sexy outfit for the first time.
That's true.
And,
That's true.
and Merrick was shirtless for most of the time.
Also
and-
true.
And Bonnie almost killed herself.
I did.
By drinking
I
drow
did.
poison.
Everything about that arc, though, like
It
was
Arthur
very good.
doing the
One of my
Arthur
favorite
doing the cardboard
descriptions.
cutouts. Yeah, doing the cardboard cutout silent images.
Yeah,
that
doing
was,
the
That was so good.
pulling the Home Alone was really good.
Merrick
That was a
and
surprise me
Adelaide
moment.
Merrick and Adelaide trying to get into the library, and there being the spider that we couldn't see, and
Oh, God.
Face
yeah.
spider. Oh.
Merrick parkouring across the bookshelves while Adelaide got her foot on one of the webs. Like,
Yeah.
you made a description, Logan, that I felt a leg going, oh, what's this? What's this? I want to play with this. Like, you described it like a puppy, and it was terrifying.
Although the funny thing is now I've seen a close-up of what Spider's feet look like, and they're adorable.
But yeah, everything, and then also the not to spoil it for anyone who hasn't listened to it, the absolutely explosive ending of that arc.
Yeah. Well, and the avatar of Rinth that comes down
Oh.
out of the ceiling was one of my favorite descriptors.
That whole
ever.
sequence, yeah, I
Yeah.
fucking love
I
that whole
was
sequence was awesome.
legitimately terrified. The entire that entire episode was just like, but that's it. Bonnie's dead. We're just she's
It
like,
was a
that's
very
it.
good one.
I gotta buy
Yeah.
them time. This is all I can do.
Yeah, that was my
remind me.
favorite
It won't
campaign.
come up. Yeah, the Underdark. Tessa, Bonnie dying. Remind me later. I
Fuck,
have
that's
a-
right.
Yeah.
There's some. Oh, I do
Yeah.
need to know. Okay.
Okay.
Ah.
Is that something for off-screen or?
No, it can be on screen, but I think
Okay.
one of the questions might.
All right. Well, let's get to
Ask.
more questions because we only got about 15 minutes left.
Logan, how do you get into a creative headspace for writing your stories?
Writing? Huh? I don't
Oh
understand
shit!
what that
15
word.
minutes till stream. I need a plot.
I don't understand what that word means. Writing.
I'm the writer.
Yeah. So that is actually something that's changed. Starting with Infinity Gauntlet, actually. That was the first arc of Shenanigans I started to take pre-notes and start to really kind of bring stuff together. I'm not sure what it was that kind of was able to click with me or connect or how I changed, or maybe I just take a lot more notes nowadays. But I started to make more of an effort to have a pre-game. I think it was more of the idea that we're on stream now. And it was like, I got to kind of get the things rolling a little bit smoother and better because we can't edit out the crap. You know, it was nice before when we could just edit Logan out. Be like, Logan's talking for 20 minutes. Let's just...
When Angela could edit Logan out.
Having it did turn to Angela for a while, for most of it, almost all of it. But yeah, the
Still happening.
you volunteered.
And I want to see it done, so it's
Yeah, it will be done. So what do I do to get into a creative headspace? Usually I have to turn off whatever I'm watching and turn on some music, which is kind of hard sometimes. I pull from what's going on around me. I may possibly or possibly not admit to the fact that the Nexus people were basically the DS9 wormhole aliens. Because I was watching DS9 at the time.
I got your number.
But the Nexus itself and what it was, I'd had as a separate idea, but it evolved a little bit and changed because of what's coming, which we'll be talking about here in a little bit. But yeah, I try to pull a lot from what I'm doing and what I'm currently involved in or watching or whatever. Because it's fresh and it's something I'm interested in, obviously, because I'm watching it. And so yeah, that's what I try to do to get my creative headspace. A lot of it takes just kind of sitting down and doing it. It's a matter of just going, this is the time I'm doing this thing and not being distracted by other things. But I always start by just trying to think about what the characters have done, and where they're at and where they're going to be going. I don't ever worry about what's going to happen or what items they're going to find or whatever. I don't worry about any of that stuff. You can improv that. You can fade to black and say, we're going to figure this out later or whatever. Or, like the item in a campaign, like the Infinity Gauntlet at the time and all these other items. I had no idea that they were all connected when they were finding them. But it was only as we got to the last arc, I started to realize as I was wrapping the campaign, I'm going, oh, all of these were needed for different various reasons to find the items and create the Nexus Manipulator. So I kind of started pulling all of it together. And, you know, it was like, oh, well, how does, you know, I knew they needed to kill this guy, you know, so how does the Infinite T Gauntlet come to place? Oh, the poison was in it at one time. Boom, that was easy. Okay, well, it actually wasn't, because the poison doesn't really exist. But that was the rumor, so that's why they needed that item. You know, you just kind of tie things back in, and the things that don't get tied back in, the things are you know, what people who become obsessed with shows will go back and find as plot holes, and there will be many. Most people don't remember them in the end, and so you just kind of move on, because it's a live improv game story show, and we're not going to remember everything because we've done hundreds of hours of this. So we take the best, we move on, and you know what? Maybe you can think of every week as a new timeline. You know, it's like, this is what they had come with them.
All right. For everybody, you have one song to encapsulate the spirit of your character. What song is it?
Which
I
character?
can tell you right off the bat.
Which
It's
character?
for every. Do Pugma.
Okay.
For Bonnie, it is Wonders by S.J. Tucker. It is the most Bonnied song to ever have Bonnied in the history of Bonnies. So give it a listen, look up the lyrics, and you'll understand why. Angela, go!
Mine is not a cheat, but it's Bonnie and Adelaide. There's a song that I found off of the Little Women Broadway musical soundtrack called Astonishing, all about someone who's upset. See if you can catch the through line. Girl gets proposed to, then gets pissed off because she thought they were going to do great things together, and she decided, I'm going to go do great things on my own. It felt like a duet between Adelaide and Bonnie to me, honestly. It really, really hit that indignant drive to want to succeed.
We threatened to make it a duet a couple of times.
It's really hard.
It is very difficult.
I don't know if we will, but that's what I think for Adelaide.
Kyle, go!
I would do anything for love, but I won't do that by Meatloaf.
Val, go!
I don't know. I didn't see this question beforehand, so I hadn't thought about it.
What's on her soundtrack? Do you have a playlist for her?
I do have a playlist for her, but I don't know like what specific song.
Unbelievable, with information retrievable.
Okay, I think Raise Hell by Dorothy is a good one.
That'd be a good one. Arthur, go!
Mine is by Modest Mouse, a song called Float On.
It's not my baloney.
It's not food related.
Logan, give us Pugnut.
Disturbed's version of The Sound of Silence.
Oh no!
Oh my god! My heart!
Pugnut, inside does not. He's never feels he's good enough. He never feels like he's perfect. Pugnut is the type of person that hides everything and will tell the world and show the world his best face, and always wants to just make people happy. You asked.
All right. Also, for Logan, who is your favorite character out of the entire cast?
You can't. That was a joke question.
Answer it. No, I'm kidding. You do not have to answer that.
It's impossible because there's different reasons why I enjoy every character.
Our tone is so shifting that like you can have serious characters that you really love their drama, and you can have comedic characters that you can't not smile when you think about them. So those are very different.
You do not have to answer that.
It's behind.
I have different reasons for why each person. Like Val is one of my favorite characters to torture. Because Heather is one of my favorite people to torture. Because Heather's my sister.
All you have to do is
it's
say
just
the word squash.
Every boyfriend plays squash. It's like, I meant, it is a you want tea with actual pythons for hand. Love interest for Val. It's like that's. I don't know.
Yeah, for those who do not know them, Heather and Logan definitely have a very sibling relationship.
Merrick,
they are absolutely
Kyle
siblings.
is my pun brother. You know, so I mean, he you know, I love him because of the puns. Arthur's the one that keeps me on my toes. You know, Bonnie, I love watching you just live in these spaces and always try to not be who you really are, this sweet, wonderful person, and then fail miserably, ended up being your character who's a sweet, wonderful person. And then
I'm really gonna try. Okay?
Adelaide, with Adelaide, it's the so in depth. You know, this care about the backstory, and to a degree that you know, I've had other people who've given me like long backstories, but with Adelaide, it's like, here's one thing. This is what's important to me, and I think it's just a matter of learning how to communicate with Logan. You know, this is the one thing that's important to me. This is what I want to be important. And I'm like, oh God, okay, yeah, let's make that a thing. And then to be able to go back and bring that back, and again and again and again, and to continue to use that, to twist that knife, and to get those, you know, that fuck you Logans over and over again. I enjoy that. So everyone is my favorite for different reasons.
Of the show.
All right, I'm
Feel free to jump
going
around
to try
if you
and
have important ones.
skip a little bit.
Pick some important questions.
Yeah, are there any secrets about your PCs that never came to light? And that's from Matthew. Bonnie's really big secret was that she had been proposed to, and that she had very seriously considered getting engaged before she left, and it wasn't that big of a secret, but I think the only person who actually knew was Adelaide.
Yeah, that came out during one of our fireside chats. Mine's less of a secret about Adelaide, more of a secret about playing Adelaide that I had since the 3rd episode. I had what I was gonna do if Bonnie ever had to have a resurrection happen.
Because she kept throwing herself at things.
Yeah, no, unfortunately...
Says the cleric frustratedly in the back.
But what ended up
That's
happening
my job,
was...
College of Swords!
What ended up happening was Tessa beat me to it in a different game. I think in a different game.
Oh, God.
Adelaide was gonna walk up to her and sing the Parting Glass. She doesn't.
Oh, no, I did it for Robin.
Yeah.
I did it for Robin in this game, yeah.
But
fuck you, that would have broken me. So...
Oh, yeah. No,
yeah.
I legit practiced it. I practiced getting teary doing it. I was gonna fuck you up. I was so excited. But it never happened. So
that's why I love Angela.
Maybe I'll record it. I'll record it as bonus content.
Destroy me with your feels. Thanks.
Songs that will destroy all of us.
Arthur, did you have something?
Yeah, I did. I had a secret that I briefly considered pursuing a relationship with Riku early on.
My siblings! Again!
And but nothing ever developed plot-wise, and we went somewhere else. I think we went on the conversations down there or something, so yeah.
I love it.
I did have an Adelaide secret.
Okay.
What was it?
Adelaide liked Arthur for the first half of the campaign.
Oh, wow.
I forgot about that. Because she moved on eventually, but yeah, it was, yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyone else?
Yes. Go for it.
I can't think of any secrets necessarily. I think the fact that she'd had some contact with her birth dad, her bio dad, when she was younger, maybe, but she didn't. It wasn't necessarily a secret. It was just something that didn't come up.
I think my big secret for Merrick was that it wasn't Merrick Prime at the end of the campaign. It was the new Merrick, the duplicate. Yep,
the shorter one.
I asked Kyle right before which one was which, and I killed the one that wasn't. DM's prerogative. And to the answer to the question that was on there, was there a chance that both Merricks would not die? Yes. Had they found the Nexus Manipulator early, they would have been able to stop it before. Yeah, you guys went down to the last one. I was shocked. But I wrote down which one on each die, which number it was going to be, and it just never got rolled. It was amazing. But yes, there was absolutely a chance that wasn't going to happen. But if he did find it, I knew he was going to kill one of the Merricks. And yes, I knew it was going to be Merrick Prime because I just loved the twist of that. So that was a little bit of a railroad. I did not make it roll randomly there. It was always going to be Merrick Prime.
But to be fair, we did establish in the story that it's not that he was a fake Merrick. It's that he just was a Merrick from a different. In that moment, when he was created as just a duplicate. He didn't have time to create him as with any ill intentions or changes, like he had used. The Admiral had used the manipulator earlier to create the duplicates of your friends that had the ill intentions. He didn't have time to do any of that, so it really is exactly just Merrick. It's just another Merrick. That's all it is that exists in that moment.
I will say, as for my part of that question of how Bonnie would have handled having two Merricks be alive, while Tessa is polyam, I don't know that Bonnie is. I'm not sure how she would have handled that, though. It's Merrick, and he's the love of her life, so I imagine that it would have been worked out, but I do not know how that would have. I do not know how
throws a rose on the ground. Fight for my affection.
Oh, Kyle knows how.
Just
okay.
the golden apple between the two Merricks.
There's advantages to both.
Merrick Prime would have just backed off and let Merrick Jr., Merrick 2, have because Merrick Prime had already been like, he had needed to survive for so long away from that he was just like, nope, no way but forward at that point.
Why take that away from the one who never had to lose it?
Exactly.
So that is, and I think that's a smart answer. That, for those that are keeping score, you may recognize that tale from Star Trek Next Gen episode 150-ish, Second Chances, where Will Riker goes back to a place and finds a duplicate of himself 8 or 9 years later.
Next question. Power through.
Kyle.
One more.
Does Merrick ever tell Bonnie he was the one who stole all of her gold on the first day in Ashport?
Hell no.
No.
Takes that one to the grave.
Absolutely. He'd already forgotten about that. He wouldn't even know to tell her.
All right, one more.
For Logan, what the fuck was Clementine?
A ghost? That was an add-in. What was
Ghost in the Machine?
Yeah, it's just a sort of a poltergeist, really.
Choo-choo.
Specifically, Clementine, I believe, was told. I was told that Clementine was a poltergeist. So I believe
a dwarven
young girl. It's Matthew's fault. So
that was a question posted in the Shenanigoons, and that was listed as my most fulfilling NPC. Was Clementine. I really liked that.
Clementine.
I really liked that creation.
It's very interesting.
Clementine was a lot of fun to explore. I didn't have a lot of time to get to know her until we were playing. But exploring her, she changed dramatically in the first about 20 minutes you were interacting with her. And then I nailed it down, and I knew exactly who it was, which is basically...
There was just so much to her in the short period of time, and like you could just imagine her entire life story.
If Arthur were true polymorphed into a sandwich, what kind of sandwich would you be?
A hot pastrami sandwich with Swiss.
And last question for Adelaide. What happened to Telemachus? Is he a happy birdie?
Aww.
I was literally just typing this out because I didn't know if we were going to get to it. Adelaide kept Telemachus until the day she died. She never summoned a different familiar. She was much more careful with him. And she didn't want to get attached to something that she originally saw as like a magical utility, but Bonnie must have been rubbing off on her. Bonnie's romanticism about having a pet and naming it. She named it and it was done. So she had a lifelong companion.
No more explosive rune exploration.
No,
seriously.
none of that. He's a hawk, not a canary.
It's a canary hawk.
Those are our questions.
Alrighty. Well, so that is it. That is really the bow. That is the end of Shenanigans. We're never talking about it again.
Talk about
what we need to go
purging of all the information.
What does the ferret in heat sound like?
Oh yeah. That was probably my second favorite arc, just because it was one of the first. Fluffy was in it. The tiger was in it, even though I know Tessa is not a fan of that moment.
No, that is Tessa was not happy about that at all. Tessa's never been happy about that whole situation.
So who wants?
So what? Well, go ahead. I was saying. So what lies ahead, Logan?
Perfect. So who wants to talk about Shenanigans 2.0?
Yes.
So we have locked in the full cast, which you see before you, as well as Ren Apollo, who is at Atomic Firebird. They can be found at Atomic Firebird on Twitter, and they are joining the cast for an indeterminate number of time, as much as they can stand being around us.
We'll try not to be too obnoxious.
We'll try not to be too obnoxious, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know that I have a full commitment, because this campaign, obviously this last campaign went for 2 years. I expect the next one to go probably just as long. So there's no, at least a year, maybe 2. Because one of the big things that I do regret in the last campaign, no, so we're going to talk about it, we didn't have an Illumis episode. We didn't get to have our holiday episode.
Aww.
So I would really like to do that, make sure we do that in the next iteration of Shenanigans 2.0. So the crystal sphere that you found, and the book that you found led to some interesting research, which was very boring for most of the time, which most people forgot about. Somewhere around 50 years after.
Fuck off.
Somewhere around 50 years after. Well, the big thing was I didn't want your characters to be too locked into it. Somewhere around 50 years after this campaign ended, the knowledge surrounding it was unlocked. And what they discovered was the ability to create vessels that could leave the planet and explore the Nexus. I guess without any further ado, I would like to show you something special. So the next season is Shenanigoons Season 2 Spelljammer. So we will be taking to the stars, exploring the crystal spheres, and exploring not just Vale, but a lot of new places. And the wonderful thing about this, and I'm going to go ahead and come back here now. The wonderful thing about this is that I am no longer limited only to our world. So we can now explore literally any world that exists inside the circle of D&D, or exist in Rolled Anvil, and we can literally go anywhere and do anything that we want to do. So Shenanigoons Season 2 Spelljammer is what is coming, and that is going to come on March 2nd, 3rd.
Is Spelljammer a thing?
Spelljammer, oh yes, Spelljammer is an actual thing. I have the Spelljammer 5.0 rules I will be getting for you guys soonish. Once I pared them down, because it's going to be a modified version of Spelljammer, but it's going to keep the basics. If you are a fan of the movie Treasure Planet, you will love Spelljammer, because that is basically it. You fly through space, but there ain't no spacesuits. You're just on a ship with a bubble of air. The physics are all wonky. It's magic. It is sword and sorcery and space. And that is literally what we're going to be doing here. And anybody who caught that with
Bon Jovi or Goo Goo Dolls.
Yes, both. You have to have the Bon Jovi Goo Goo Dolls. Bon Jovi presents the Goo Goo Dolls. The Buju Dolls. The Vuju Juju Dolls. Jesus. Yeah, so that is a lot of what we're going to be doing in the next campaign, and that will be starting, like we said, on March 3rd, because we have commissioned our artist, and we're working on getting that done, and we are getting... Will Crossweight is working on some stuff for us right now. Angela and I have been hard at work at making graphics and all sorts of things. Yes. I think we all discovered something with Treasure Planet in us.
Yeah, I was just telling Angela it can't be that captain because I'm already queer enough.
Angela already basically made that captain as one of the directors of the Birchfield.
That's true.
Very true.
And there's a reason I didn't use them much, because I knew what would happen.
She's a redhead, and she's like the captain from Treasure Planet. She wasn't safe, is what I'm saying.
So the giant space hamsters, which are necessary to power Spelljammer vessels, were obviously kind of a nod there. And the gigantic ball that you found, I never really got a way to kind of introduce it, but it basically pops open on one side and is a giant hamster ball. So it helps you train baby giant space hamsters. And so we're gonna be talking about that in the next one, and you will be taking your the maiden flight of the Skybreaker, which is the name of the ship, which is a Spelljammer class vessel that you will be taking to the stars and out of the crystal sphere that your planet and solar system exists within. We're going to learn all about that in the next iteration, March 2nd. Now, between now and then, we still will be here every Tuesday, even for next Tuesday now, because next Tuesday was originally going to be our session 0. It got moved. So we will be here every Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we're just going to goof around. We're going to probably play a one-shot of something. So you can come by and say hi. And then after that, we're going to start doing tech. And maybe some pre-stuff. It'll only be for subscribers after that. So next week we'll be here, but it'll be subscribers only, starting on the week after, for the 3 weeks leading up to March. So for the rest of February. So yeah, but that's that. And we're doing a full revamp on a lot of things. Obviously the logo's getting updated. And
Logan's been doing some very, very cool things with our layout. We're
I
gonna have a very
am very excited, and we're not going to just have the one layout. There's going to be a lot more work on me, but it needs to happen. We're going to have a dozen different layouts with different zoom in, so you can see people a little better while they're talking, and we'll have some rotations, and it's going to be really great fun. We're redoing the commands. We're redoing everything. Seriously, it's going to be like everything.
And no more Birchfield.
And very little Birchfield. Yeah, that's true. Everyone will
have to give us 3 weeks.
Yeah, so we'll have to we have to tear down the Birchfield set and then put up the new. So that's going to take a while. And then Ange just moved into Arizona there, and we have to return the blimps. Those things cost us $10,000 a day to rent. So, and then there you go. Okay, we've perfected the teleportation.
Yeah. And over the next few weeks, as we're ramping up for season 2, we will be doing some fun little sneak preview stuff in the meantime. So you'll get to find out little bits and pieces about our characters.
Some of which you'll be able to find on our Patreon, some of which you'll find on our Twitter, some of which you might find on Facebook. So make sure you follow us in those places. Shenanigoons has its own Twitter account, which is at the Shenanigoons, which is my favorite thing ever. And someday we'll be able to afford to buy at Shenanigoons off of whoever the hell owns it. But right now we have at the Shenanigoons.
We don't even post. It just sits there.
Don't. It's so
frustrating.
We could change to at real Shenanigans or something if you really wanted to.
No, let's keep it though.
All right.
It's worth it.
Anyway, so at the Shenanigans, and that is where we'll be posting all the updates and all the reveals and everything. And then we will also be having we'll be using World Anvil a little bit more this time around, and at least for character bios and backgrounds and things like that, so you have access to all of that. So we are working very hard to bring this next season to life, and to make it very, very big. So tell your friends, and again, come back to see us next Tuesday. We'll be doing a goof off. Ren will be here to goof off with us for starting next week. And Ren, right before this show, has a show on their channel now. They have a new channel. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Somebody can help me with that?
Make Believe.
Make Believe.
Make Believe, where they talk about live action role playing. And they talk about, because Ren does a lot of live action
and TTRPGs, so like trying to blend the two role play games.
So it's really, really cool stuff.
So the final total for the party fund, which never actually got spent out of, was
we never touched
415 gold, 21 silver, and 10 copper.
So 50 years of interest for the new campaign.
Nice.
We own that ship.
It went into a trust that continued to buy flowers for Liara.
Oh my god.
You had to break us one last time. So that is that. Do we have anything else we need to talk about before we head out? Besides thanking World Anvil and Die Hard Dice for their sponsorships. They are very generous to us, and we are very, very happy to be working with them. No,
No, Kyle.
No,
Kyle.
Kyle. Fuck off, Kyle.
We will be in the Discord for about 30 minutes after the show. If there were any other burning questions that came up that you did not get a chance to get answered, we will be around
we'll
to
still
answer
answer some
them in
questions
spoiler
there.
chat. Tune in tomorrow at noon for Discover
Nope.
RPG. No, not tomorrow.
Nerdsmith
No?
Power Hour.
Nerdsmith Power Hour.
We are no
sorry.
longer Discover RPG. We are now the Nerdsmith Power Hour,
Yes,
where we talk
tune
about
in at noon
Nerdsmith
for the
and
Nerdsmith Power Hour.
TTRPGs and all sorts of
And
things.
all the other stuff.
We still talk about everything we talked about before. It's just no longer DRPG.
And then tune in at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the finale of Obscurum
Obscurum.
tomorrow.
The very last episode with our friends from what's that podcast? What's their podcast? I can't remember.
Crit show?
The
Crit
Crit
Show. Nix
Rev.
and
Nix
Rev,
and Rev.
and then Carl and Colton and Heath, who are wrapping up their Noir City of Mist RPG campaign, and that is tomorrow at 4 p.m. PST.
Before we go too far off of the topic of this game, this is a really good game, y'all.
This was a
Really
very
liked
good
it.
game.
And I want-
yeah.
Logan, I want to thank you for sticking it out. I know that this show sort of ebbed and flowed as in terms of like our ability to keep up with it or our certainty of whether we wanted to continue it, and I'm really, really happy that we all decided to keep going.
I agree.
Me too.
Mhm.
I-
I do have one last acknowledgement. I mentioned it earlier in our chat, but it hadn't
yeah.
gotten mentioned yet. So in terms of sticking with it and supporting us also, Matthew, I don't know if you noticed, but you have a new badge.
Yes, you do.
And it was a long time coming, and I'm not sure how it got missed, and we apologize. But thank you, Matthew. We've moved you up to your VIP status. We really appreciate you and appreciate everything
I
you do
can't
for us
speak to
and
what that
network and
does,
everything
but
else.
it makes you feel fancy, and you deserve that.
Yeah, I have no idea what it does right now. I know we can do some VIP stuff, and there's other things. kind of in the
Party for
background.
Matthew.
But thank you very, very much for all your hard work. We get a limited number of VIPs. That's part of why we don't just give them out willy nilly, just because we're limited by the number of subscribers we have and things, I believe. So thank you for everything. Yeah, you
Autumn,
get
we
to
love
go
you.
behind the velvet rope.
Autumn, we are really glad you stayed too.
Heck
Definitely.
yes.
We were the first. I thought CH was the first. I didn't know this was the first. That's
I'll
awesome.
take it. I'll take the
Thank you.
compliment.
Mhm. I think she
yes,
might
the
have
17th.
watched us first and then
Well, we weren't
started
streaming
watching
by the time
CH.
CH was out. We didn't start streaming until
No,
after.
but we started streaming partway through CH
But
because we took
remember,
Tuesday away.
Autumn caught up
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
like a mad woman that we respect the shit out of.
Hell yeah.
Angie's voice to the podcast.
Autumn. No. Yay.
And now we've absorbed you into the family, like we do with everybody who sticks around for more than one
Oh,
episode.
I thought you were talking about my voice. I'm like, what's up, Ursula? And now we've absorbed your voice. You are.
Yeah, that right, Sean. Those are
Oh,
still
by
two of
the
my
way,
go-tos.
I'm on TikTok now, and I found out that I'm being lip synced as Raishan, and so I'm putting videos up of me singing.
As
Nice.
Critical
should
Role
be.
musical.
Nice.
So please find
Thank
me
you,
on
Marcellus.
TikTok.
21,
I'm acting.
21, 20i, 2i, 21.
2-1.
2-1. Thank you very much for the follow. So I think that's it. I think when we stuck to 3 hours. I'm shocked. We did a good
Same.
job. Normally
Go
these go
us.
long.
It's almost like there wasn't any more
Yeah.
plot to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure we could have kept talking.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, honestly.
yeah, and then we've got this Friday we've got Dead Men as well, and you have what, 2 more
The
episodes?
second to last episode.
Yeah, so
is
2 more
Dead
weeks
Men,
of
yeah.
that, and then we have nothing. I mean, other than one shots here and there, we'll have nothing for a month until Shenanigans
I
starts back
would like to propose that we continue the Power Hour in what
the Power Hour, yeah.
suggestion was to do it more often, and it just becomes a segment that we can do
Sure.
whenever we feel like it. So maybe we do other things. Maybe we get on a boat. Maybe we get on a boat that's made of only a couple of planks, and there's a shark around us, and we have to.
Oh, that's true.
Yes. We have to. I
Ooh.
don't know,
There's
grow
some other
plants
streams and stuff.
on the raft.
We also will be announcing our Discord community events, which will be coming up because we've only got a couple months left to get a bunch of those done. Now that we've got some details locked down in the background, so we'll be having some cool, fun stuff over there. And then if you'd like to support us, you can do so over on Patreon at patreon.com/nerdsmith. You can do so right here by subscribing to Twitch. And of course, all the donations and bits and everything help us immensely as well. If you cannot or not in a position to be able to support us that way, just sharing the show with your friends, family, and the world is very helpful. Just the more people talk about us, the more likely we'll have more people here, creating a bigger and more awesome community.
Thank
All
you
right.
guys so much.
So thank you guys. I will show you the logo one last time as we head out, and then we're gonna say goodnight, and I'll roll the credits. So thank you guys
We'll
very,
see you in
very,
Discord.
One
very
last
much,
time.
and we'll see you one last time.
Last time.
We'll see you in.
Shenanigans.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Good night, everybody.
Now that's stuck in my
Yeah.
head.